I'll go ahead and take the conference line off of beeping, and then whenever they call in, I'll take. If they call in, I'll go ahead and move it from there. Are we on? Okay. Well, tonight what we're going to do is we're going to go in and just have our round table. Ann and I, we're going to talk like we did last week, and we're going to talk about things that are important to us based upon the scripture. And we invite everybody that chooses to join in with us to go ahead and join in so that we can start enjoying what we're talking about. Now, I put a video up today, and that video that I put up, I definitely, if possible, would like to at least talk a little bit about that. But I do believe that since we're going to be talking about things that are very important, that I should at least pray that God would get glory out of what we're talking about. Merciful, holy, and righteous Father, as we talk about issues that are very important and grave in our world, issues that have caused many to die, lose their property and home, many to turn away from you completely because of greed or because of sorrow or because they didn't think that you knew what you were doing. Help us to bring glory to your name, to talk about your solutions and address things the way that they truly are. Bring about your kingdom coming, your will be done in our lives while we live, so that the day when it comes that we go be with you, that'll be how it is because we're used to it. Amen, amen, and amen. Let me look at my conference line. I do have someone on the conference line. And what I want to do is just go ahead and ask you, Ann, you sent me that video. And the thing that I liked about the video that you sent me is that you mentioned that this is something that happens to people when they speak out and they say things that is not supposed to be said. And so Bill Cosby, he has said a lot of things, and people forget how he spoke for and against. He spoke for what we black people should have, how we should be treated, and he spoke against how people were treating us. If you will, Ann, will you bring Tim some water as well? I don't know why he forgot to bring his own water, but I'm glad I got you. But he spoke against those things, and then he spoke up for us. But he also showed in the video that I showed that I posted how we were treated. And you found that video and you showed it to me, and I determined in my spirit that this is right here with what the spirit of the age is. We have people now still being sold, or I would say sold, rented out of whatever in the prison industrial complex. We have the music industry that teaches and promotes ungodliness, lawlessness, and the very thing that will get a person locked up. And not only do we do that, we hear people that they get on the news and they talk about the things that's happening in Chicago and different cities, and we never really get a chance, or if we do get a chance, they won't allow it to be shown. How do we really view these things in such a way to get a solution that's going to be beneficial to all? Now, I'm looking on my conference line, and I want to make sure that on my conference line, because I know that I expected my brother Gary to call in, and if he did call in, I definitely want to make sure that he got a chance to see the video, because the video, it said all that I could say, I think, and said it in such a way that it was quite amazing. Because a lot of times what happens is you'll say something and leave something out. So I'm going to see if Gary would have something he'd like to add to our conversation before we even started. Gary, are you able to say anything, or did you look at the video? I hear a sound, but I don't hear a person. So let me see if it's me. if I'm the problem. Am I the problem, Gary?
I think it said I was muted. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, Tim's the problem again, but I got him straightened out.
Yeah, I watched the video. Um,
What were your feelings?
uh, I thought it was um clear in how he portrayed it. I liked the way. I mean, even from starting in the classroom, I didn't know exactly what was going on at first because he wasn't even there. But it bothered me because I think it's very strategic in how we weren't to know anything. And growing up, I've seen several of those Shirley Temple pictures, and I used to wonder even as a child why are all of these people, these servants black? And so, um, looking at other ones that I had never seen before, I think I've seen snippets of Amos and Andy and so forth to see that it was actually a design. I think it worked, overall. So it was aggravating. It bothered me to see it.
I was shocked to know. I don't know if I knew it and forgot to realize that they were white men and that they had portrayed that. And so when the time came for television, now I don't know why they didn't give them blackface, but to see that there were white men doing it for years. Oh, that's
They were
boy.
radio.
I blah, blah, blah.
They were, he said they were radio, the originators, so they wouldn't necessarily need blackface on the radio.
But they could mock them with their voice.
Hmm.
Whereas someone would think I'm mocking somebody that's white if I talk like this right here. But they don't know that our daddy, if he got excited, wouldn't that be his voice?
Yes, sir.
I mean, if you're a slave, you're a sharecropper. You learn how to talk with like the people that where you were, and it's easy for me to drop into that right now because I knowed it, and that's how. And so what happens is that's the picture that's given. Lazy. How do you portray black people as lazy when they built your country? That to me is the equivalent of when a man can rape, beat a woman, take her key, drive her car, don't put grocery in the house, and then tell her that he's doing all he can. What else can he do to make life better for her? And then whip her for complaining. Well, now that I know that I got you here, I'm going to go back to Ann and just ask her, what was it that triggered you to send that to me? I'm married to you, so I know you know my buttons, but what was it?
First of all, it was educational. When you look at it in terms of what you haven't been taught and things you didn't know. We had what we call Black History Month, you know, in school,
Mm-hmm.
in elementary days. Once by the time you get to high school, because you went from elementary to high school back then, Black History Month was nothing anymore. It was you you had it in elementary school, but when you get to high school, it's like that month was nothing anymore. You didn't do, they have little plays or things they would put on, or you find some black people, they'll say, well, we have a list of black people that did certain things, so you pick one of these and you write an essay on one of these people, and so, but it was the same group of people all the time. So so to learn other black people how instrumental. Well, I already knew they were instrumental in building this country, but the industry, the things that they were able to do, the ingenuity, um, because it makes sense. Because if you're doing all the work, then you're having to solve the problem too, because you're familiar and you're engrossed in the work, and you want to find a way not to have to work so hard. So this is why and I watch you do that all the time.
That's why. That's why I pump. That's
Yeah.
why I pump my fist. It's like, if I'm getting paid by the job, why do I have to do it so hard? It ought to be an easier way.
Right. So, but to see the system, the the design that all, things were designed a certain way to make you think about a particular people in a particular way. It was all designed. It wasn't by mistake. It wasn't just, well, let's have this little small group of people that don't like these people. It was huge. It was on a massive scale. So you can say, well, you have some people they call rednecks or these other people they call crackers. They don't like KKK. They don't like black people. But it's bigger than that.
Way
When
bigger.
you see that it's the system, and when I hear people use the word racist or racism, what they give is like it's so small, and it's what the media has told you what racism is. But there's a system and there's a design to reduce your population, to do something to you psychologically in the minds of, even if there are some people, what they call white people who do like you,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna shame you into not liking them. You're gonna say they're not worthy. You're gonna, but to see the design of it in every part, in the education system, there's a design, and these are all federal, you know, institutions.
And that means you pay tax to
Right.
support it.
This is all federal institutions that were supposed to be set up in order, for us to be educated. But what is education when you telling me lies? I mean, I'm educated in lies.
Yes.
I'm educated in a bunch of untruths that I continually repeat, and it's like you and to see that it's by design, that it was like our history and whatever we contributed and who we were is completely wiped away. No other people, no other group on the face of this earth has ever been done that way, where you actually wipe away a. You have Indians. I watched the Indians, the Sioux Indians, and they were saying that they were offered. The government was offering the Sioux Indians over $1 billion because they had taken the Black Hills. I want to say this, the Black Hills, but you can look it up for me. But they had taken land that belonged to them. The United States government had taken the land, and they had also stripped the land of the resources. And so they were going to pay them over $1 billion to the Sioux Indians. And well, they were saying, well, we were left alone to keep. We know who we are. We were
Mm-hmm.
able to keep our traditions. We know our ancestors. We know what we were in this country. We know where we were in this country. We know what we owned in this country. But the thing is that they took this land and they're offering us money for the land, but we want our land back. And so it's like we have to come to a consensus and decide, do we want, because I think they say it's split between all of that tribe, it would only be like $10,000 per person. And it's like, no, that's way too low because $10,000 can go fast.
Very fast.
That's way too low because we know what minerals are on that land. We know we could be producing on that land, and by doing that, we continue to grow and to prosper as a people in this land. But that I said that to say that they kept their traditions. They have their traditions. They know who they are. They know their style of dress. They know what language they spoke. But everything they have, they kept. They kept. But it's like we were stripped of everything.
Do you think it was done accidentally in in the school system? Because you've already spoken about other areas, but in the school system, because you would think that your teachers would be neutral, that they really do love you, etc. In the school system, what do you feel about that issue?
Well, I always go back to the Bible when Daniel, where Nebuchadnezzar said, "You're going to learn all the wisdom of Babylon, and you're going to be taught that," and that's what we've been taught. We've been taught this system. We've been taught George Washington is great. We've been taught all the presidents. We've been taught about the Ulysses S. Grant.
Yes.
and all the wars, and everybody that you see before you is white, and they get to be what we say, and this is why you have such a great nation. Look at all these people, and they only one particular color. I want to say color because that's what they call us. They
Right.
only one particular kind of people. And so you get to that's but you're educating us on how to be good Americans. And nobody else that comes into this country has to be stripped of their identity.
Yeah, that's one of the amazing things there. Because the main reason that I brought this up is not because of the plight that's there for our future children, our grandchildren. We have grandchildren. But what does it mean when we start looking at it from the Bible, from a bibliocentric or religious point of view? But the way that it's presented, it's like it's not religion. That is just secular. But when you really get down to it, a whole belief system. I mean, you got a little white girl that's over black men, grown black men, and all of the black men are subservient to the black woman. And then you start seeing that set out in society. If you kick the black men out of the home, when at the Great Society with Lyndon Baines Johnson, let's put them out of the house. We'll give you welfare. We'll give you money. It was one time when I was young, and not just younger, I was young.
Mm-hmm.
I used to wonder how girls got apartments. And they were giving them apartments. And they were giving them so much money. And they were giving them so much in food stamps. And they helped perpetuate that. And I used to hear men say, when I say men, I'm saying it because they're male, not because God would identify them as a man for how you treat your family. I got 5 children. How do you take care of it? I don't have to do nothing. They mama get a check.
Mm,
And that was not accidental.
mm,
And so what you did was our society legally, because you can't give checks like that. You can't do things like that unless you get it done through legislation. Now, when I
mm-hmm.
tell somebody that, they'll say white people on welfare too. Well, let me be perfectly clear.
We know that.
I'm not going to apologize for having this skin color. I'm not going to apologize for looking out for the Merritt family, me and Drina and my sons that are here. I don't go next door and try to feed the next door neighbor. If she was hungry and didn't have anything to eat, and she has children and they were hungry and I got it, I'll give them some. But first, I'm going to do is look out for my wife. That's my obligation. As a boy, I was taught by my mother, when you get married, my brothers were taught the same way. Your wife comes first before I do. Thank God she taught me how to be wise. But then when I'm given to this nationality that have been harmed, raped, taught that you were nothing, and I'm going to pretend like I can't say nothing to help a black person unless I mention everybody? No. I want to speak to the issue and not dilute your problem. Now, once I have clearly and effectively said that, then we can talk about other people. But right now, the video that we showed, it showed that the people that control Hollywood, the same people that give me Me Too, the same people that want to tell me how to do things in political arenas, the same people that run Hollywood and run the music industry that give me bang bang, shoot 'em up, MF and this and the B this to the woman and she ain't nothing and got the women popping their butt when they walk around, and then you want to talk about us as if we're dogs and I'm supposed to listen to you tell me what I'm supposed to do with my political power, my political voice, what I'm supposed to think. I have seen it. What you want to do is totally destroy me. And do you have that way to show any of my books up there? Because I said some of those books up there on purpose. Because there are some things that I see that goes on in our society that's so bad that it's as if a person didn't know any better, you would think that the black man is the worst man in all the world. But that's the way you've been portrayed. So with that, I just need it to be understood that that's not what the Most High wants for us. That's not what He brought us up to be. nor is that what he brought us up to do. And it bothers me because I would say that the religious community played a great part in that. They played a part in taking when the Bible talked about slaves and the master. You made yourself be the master that would be in the book of Colossians, that would be the one in the book of Ephesians. And that's not the type of servitude that the Bible was talking about. Now, someone might say, well, under Roman, when they had Roman slaves, it would be a different thing. I submit to you that when Paul is writing and he's talking about servitude, there's a type of servitude that never equaled what was going on in the United States. Yes, Rome had their stuff that they did, but they took the things when you were told, where they told the servant how to treat the one that's what's called the master, and the master how to treat the servant. That didn't happen in most cases. When it did happen in many cases, when there was somebody white that said this is wrong, you call them a nigger lover. They could lose their house. They could lose their property. Things could be burned down. They could be outcasts of society. Well, I want to submit to you that this is the very thing right now that a lot of the problem we have in the United States is because many people now are talking, and the solutions that they're bringing are not biblical. So, and when you saw that, and you realize that Bill Cosby wanted to buy NBC, he wanted to start his own network, and as that got out, you start getting all of the stuff that they say he did. If he says he's a Christian, you know I believe it, because you know how I feel about Christianity. If what I thought Christianity was is what Christianity is, then I would say he didn't live his life as a Christian. But now that I really have paid attention and I realize that Christianity is do anything you want to, and all you got to do is say, Jesus, forgive me. I plead the blood. No sin is greater than another. If you really believe, think about this, Ann. If somebody really believes no sin is greater than the other, let's see what that equates. If no sin is greater than the other, so if I went and got me a boyfriend or a girlfriend and brought them in the house, if you believe that no sin is greater than the other, what's the difference in that and me not coming home at 8 o'clock when I tell you that I would, but I stop and watch a movie and come back and then come? Nothing sinister. Just go watch a movie and come home. So I get here at 9:30 or 10. And then you say, Tim, why didn't you come home at 8? Because I went to see a movie. And you say, you lied. I know, but ain't no sin greater than the other.
Ooh. I mean, that's self-explanatory.
What about if I brought home a boyfriend and a girlfriend and you get angry?
Yeah, one sin is greater than the other.
What if I decide, okay, I did a big job today, got a little extra money, and somebody would let me go spend the night for 2 or 3 days, and I don't come home, and I say I want to divorce you? No sin. What if, see, when I bring this up, what if I get somebody to do something to me and I shoot them and they get killed, and you say, Tim, why'd you do that? I say, and no sin is greater than the other.
There's no difference if I would have just slapped him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, slap me too.
Yeah, then shoot him. No sin is greater than the other.
So then, why is it a greater sin? How could it be a greater sin when the Christians enslaved black people? Why would it be a greater sin if no sin is greater than the other? If Master went and took my mother out of the house while my dad is crying and bring her back with her clothes torn, why would it be a greater sin if Master saw me running my mouth and tied me down in front of everybody and raped me in front of the whole community? If no sin is greater than the other, you see, it cannot be a biblical teaching. That is a teaching that's rooted in wickedness and ungodliness. And this is what when people say they're Christians, this is what they teach. They say once saved, what's the rest of it?
Always saved.
So if I make this prayer, why do sisters have to, Sister Renee, she got on with us tonight. She has a thing where she does single, saved, in dating. If one sin is no greater than the other, why do they have to be single saved in dating? Why can't they be what they call it, polyandry, polygamy, be a mistress, and get paid and keep doing what they're doing? This is why when people would tell me Donald Trump is not a Christian, I said, that's not true. I said, first of all, you do tell a lot of lies on him because I've been a victim of powerful lies and I know what lies is. I said, but if everything you said about him is true, and if he is a racist, if no one sin is not greater than the other, what's so big about that? And so what I end up looking at is I could no longer identify myself as what people call a Christian. I have to qualify it. And so we start looking and we see out of all the stuff don't we have more than a terabyte of documentaries and things where people have taught just me. Right. I got so much, and that's usually the consensus. So why should white people be upset over the laws that they've made that hurt us? And why should black people be upset whenever things have gone against us? If you, in your pulpit, you teach the same doctrine of the same people that enslaved you, that no sin is greater than the other, and you are still saved no matter what, and God loves everybody like they are. Why shouldn't they march around in white suits and burn crosses in your yard? Unless there really is a God. And is that on? I think it is.
It's not.
Okay.
Okay, turn up the conference. So they say they can't hear me.
They can't hear on the conference?
They can't hear me.
Okay. It's up loud now. Let's see if they can hear you now. I'm going to ask Gary. Okay, you're going to find out on the... But one of the things... Okay, speak up and let me see if they can hear you on the conference now.
Can you hear me now, Gary?
Can you hear her now, Gary?
You had to repeat it.
Just a little bit better.
Just
I wonder why.
I don't know, but where we can solve that, because I can be heard. Take this Starship and put it on that stool and pull the stool. You should be able to still hear me because you got a lot of
Okay, we can hear you well now, and
that's because I'm holding the phone now.
Yeah, what we doing? We're using the Starship, the Polycom, and I just moved it over there where she is, and therefore I have more room to do my thumb ball roller, which is great for me. Yeah, you're gonna do the stool. Can you still hear me, Dre?
I can.
Okay, then that's going to be perfect. I'm so glad that you told me that. And so you should be able to hear Ann as well. Dre, do you have any comment on what we were just discussing about all of the things that were in that video, and yet it's still, if Christians can do anything we want to, why is it a problem?
I didn't get a chance to see the video yet, but I do agree with. I guess it's not really a rhetorical question, but the question that you ask, why do we only do certain things wrong if we feel like we can do whatever we want? So I have to have a chance to go and look at the video for myself.
Well, that happens sometime when you have to work. Yeah. I mean, when you work, you can't just be doing everything like, somebody that doesn't work, they can usually be free and always able to look at stuff, check it out. Whereas when I work, by me being self-employed, I can take 2 or 3 minutes to do something, go back to work, and then come back and check later. But Ann, the last thing I want you to bring out on that, what kind of solution do you see for the problem that Bill Cosby laid out? And the main thing that I was alluding to is, why was it so evil when he had sex with all of these women? Let's pretend that he had sex with everyone that they said. Mm-hmm. I don't ever agree that he raped. The reason for that is that he had plenty of money. They did a lot of drugs back then. And it's easy to go back and say, well, he raped me. and it's easy to try to blackmail somebody and say stuff back during the time. So as long as I see you cheer for Roman Polanski that did anal sex with a little girl, that did all other kind of stuff, and you give him an award. And when I see that you all have set up pedophile rings, when I know that the Greek culture, that's what the Greek culture did, that they had sex with the boys. That's why you made them wrestle naked, and that's why they call anal sex Greek to this day. When I go and read that that's what you do, you would go and have sex with the boys, and you would just have your wives to have children, and that's documented. And when I can go and see what you had Pompeii set up for, please don't tell me that that's not what's going on when Ruth Bader Ginsburg right now want to make the age for having sex with a child is age 12. Please, I want it to be understood. I'm not condoning extramarital sex because I don't believe one sin is equal to another.
But you just don't believe they care.
Yes.
But that's the Hollywood lifestyle. So you're exactly right. There's a lifestyle that everyone will attest to in that, whether they're in it and doing it or not in it and not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that is the lifestyle. That is what they promote on film constantly, every chance they get, and that's what they put their money out to promote. So to say that, oh, it's okay when we fake having sex, and I don't believe you're always faking, and we fake kissing, but you're really kissing, and all these things. And it's like, this is not. We deal in reality, and the reality is you just grab somebody else's wife behind her breast, and you say we're acting. So it makes no sense. You have this. It's like It's like you want to pull the wool over my eyes and say, no, you can't believe that because that's not really what's happening. Yes, we really did just see that, and it's a hocus pocus. That's why
Explain
they
the real
call it
hocus pocus.
Hollywood.
Yeah, truly, because of the holly plant. That was supposed to be magical.
It's witchcraft.
And the shillelagh that was made out of Hollywood and that the leprechaun had, they knew. They didn't call it Hollywood for nothing.
And so when you really see that, and it's the hypocrisy, you don't really care. You don't really care whether or not this man raped this woman or whether he had sex with 15, 20, 30, 50 women. You don't really care. That is what you promote. That all the time. All the time you promote this. But then we have morals now. Because one of them said, and a few of them said that they were raped. But they was doing drugs and they did go to his room, but he raped them. And it's like, you don't really care about rape. You simulate rape, and maybe you don't simulate it, but you try to make us see you do. This is what you're acting. You do so many rapes on film. Why are you doing that? Why would you even be showing that? You simulate rape, and maybe you don't simulate it.
I guess you really meant that. Now go ahead.
I can't hear it.
You can't no more.
Okay, so anyway, you don't really care. That's hypocrisy. And so I know you don't really care that somebody may or may not have gotten raped. You didn't lock up
Polanski?
Weinstein.
No.
You didn't lock him up. You've allowed the Roman Catholic Church to pay off so many people. You don't care about rape.
And what about Jerry Lee Lewis, 13-year-old girl and cousin?
Yeah, so everything I see.
But you care about R. Kelly.
You don't really care about rape. So what is the real reason that you chose this person? He is not the only one. I mean, you had all these children coming forward after, what's his name?
Corey Feldman.
Yeah, Feldman came out and saying, yes, they were grooming boys. They were grooming young boys to have sex with them. And what's his name? Kevin Spacey. He didn't go to jail. And so what you're seeing is you don't really believe that. You don't really care about rape, because surely you should care more about a child being raped than a woman that says she willingly went to somebody's room and took some drugs and she was raped, and it was like 30 years ago. So how much more you should care about that, but you don't. So what's the real reason behind you bringing this up? And when you look back and you see that these people that he spoke out like this when he had the ability to?
When he was still popular. When he was still popular, what he did was he showed that with Sidney Poitier.
Right.
And this man had a higher role. And then you got Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy. Oh, we taught you all that everybody is created equal and so and so, but we did teach.
You not to fall in love with one of them.
Yeah.
So it's when you see that when it was okay. See, it's unspeakable to tell the truth now.
It's racist.
Right. So you see that at a time you could tell the truth and it would be okay. And it's like, okay, we can take it. Let's go ahead and let's hear it. Let's think it through. Let me educate my people. What's wrong with that? And so now it's unspeakable. It's unspeakable to tell the truth now because you're called racist, you're crazy, you're marginalized because you're telling the truth about it's like we're dealing in reality and you all are in make believe land and we keep saying, listen, this is a farce. Stop believing what you see. They have pulled a wool over your eyes. It really is CGI. They're lying to you. And you say, no, that's not, no, it is true. It is true. If I believe it hard enough, it's true. Did we hear that?
Yes, we did. Did Peter Pan say that too?
So when you see, and this is not the only film he
Mm-mm.
made like this.
No. But one of the things that I did notice, you guys people don't like this, boss. And my name is Walking Murphy. You know, cause the rest of the people they just sit around and they don't do nothing. And you make fun of the black people. And then you got them in this Hollywood thing. You got a man in the dress supposed to be in heaven. And then you got them all doing. You got them walking your cows. Then you got them coming out of the military and the white women scared of them. And in the adventures that they make, you don't give them credit for them. I got plenty of stuff with not only things that black people have done, but the wealth that they had. But you say we came over here as savages. And so then when that goes into the church, you see, we got to conquer the savages and give them religion. Who in God's hell, because really the devil don't have a hell, it really is. In God's hell, tell you to come and give people a religion that will make them just like my book right there, Icons of Evolution, or Darwin's Descent of Man up there, or the evolution of the species, or we're talking about the origin of life or the means of preservation of the most favorite race in the struggle of life. Who told you to take innocent, righteous, and those that weren't righteous, they had a civilization, take these people, beat them down, lock them on ships, kill a lot of them, and give them a dadgum Jesus? I would submit to you that Yeshua's name is not Jesus. But if you were going to talk about Yeshua and you call him Jesus, if you pour into the meaning of that word, the person that is the Son of God, the person that is the seed of the woman, the person that came and ate with Abraham, the person that stands for righteousness, the person that had an ethnicity that was based upon people that came from Mesopotamia, of the Chaldees, not Europe, not a Goth, not a Visigoth, not a Roman. What I'm saying is, if you want to tell the truth about him, and you just have an issue that you call him Jesus because his name was translated from Yod, and you use a J because in German they use a J, and you say Jesus, we can have agreement. But if when you talk about Jesus, he looked like somebody that's going to be in drag, or he looked like somebody in his long robe, or he looked like Charlie Manson. And if that's the Jesus you're telling me about, that don't stand for truth, that don't stand for righteousness, I don't want him. But now 2 Corinthians chapter 11 said there is another Jesus. There's another gospel, another angel, and another spirit. But people that don't read the Bible don't know that. Satan knows that knockoffs keeps you from taking the truth or even wanting the truth.
Well, I think the point that he was making is that media.
Yes, Lord.
The media where you get your news and information from, your ideologies, your system of beliefs, a lot of people. And they took that and they said, this is the way we're going to shape culture. We're going to do it through the media. It started where they didn't start with acting first, they started with books. And you write, and then you have an orator who would read it. And these are people's ideas that they put on paper. They start mass producing them and making books. And this is how you begin to shape culture.
Wasn't there a president elected because of Washington Irving's book or something that they used it during the time when Randolph Hearst, he owned the newspapers, and that's how they made Billy Graham, remember?
Right. So you see that the media has always been used to change culture and to not to you think, oh, the media is there to let you know what's happening in the world. Well, we in the world, we know what's happening in the world.
We do.
So what they do is we want to shape the way you think about what you see in the world. What you shape the way you think about the people you meet on the street, like a black man passing a white woman. You've been trained. You better grab your purse up. You better pull it close into you.
Andrina, I was 14. I got a job at Wendy's. So I always just knew how to work. Andrina, I was walking up in Gainesville. You remember where Charles Ramsey used to live, the first street that we go to?
Uh-huh.
I was walking up there as a boy, and I didn't know, because we didn't have brand new cars. I walked by this car and I go, bow, bow, bow. I looked back. She had made those power locks lock
Oh my
the door. So when you said that, I thought about that. Go ahead.
So anyway, you get his. I think the point that I got that stuck out to me the most is again the propaganda. That's what the media is for. It's for propaganda. It's to promote ideologies. It's not to tell you the truth. It's not to do that. It's to make you think a certain way. And so that's why they call it broadcasting. Broadcasting is what you do when you go out and plant. You spread seeds. This is their spreading their seeds around, and the seeds are being planted in your mind. It's changing the way you think about certain things. It's shaping, it's growing, and you're molding to what you're seeing. And so then they have programming. Programming is really programming. We put one thing after another for a reason. We design the line up for a certain reason. They don't line it up because they just want to make you laugh. They're doing two things at one time. One, they selling you stuff, and the other is they shaping the way you think. They killing two birds with one stone, and they getting paid to do it. And so it's like now, how do you get the most people at one time to see a product and to have a desire for it? Well, we got a solution for that. And what way can we reach the most people with what we want to do in society, the way we want you to stop and start thinking about one thing and stop thinking about another thing? How do we do that in mass production? Well, the mass media, mass communication. This is what you do. And so when you start seeing that is not designed just for your entertainment. Yes, it's meant to lull you into a sleep, into some place that's not reality. And you have an ideology, you start believing stuff, and you stop thinking about stuff that come out of your mouth, and it just come out of your mouth because it sounds good on the TV. That somebody with a suit on and a tie said it, and now it's like, oh yeah, I think I'll say that. Or somebody with their head wrapped up or in a sheet around their body, and they're gonna tell you something, and you're like, oh, that sounds good too. And it's like, how do you hold all of these things? You have to be a hypocrite because all of these things don't go together. But all of them are spilling out of your mouth.
Yes.
And how are you really living? See, that's the reality. You can say what you want to say. So just showing that the media has shaped, the way we think about each other and the way we think that, society, well, we want to change the culture. So I remember this vividly where you didn't have, programs like Love American Style and Love Boat. And it was like they showing people in a bed, going to bed with each other, hugging and kissing and doing stuff, and it's like this is like when you a child, you know, and this is coming on, you're like, what? Because it was out of, it seemed like it was out of nowhere.
It was, because I remember as a boy, you'd watch the Brady Bunch, and you didn't know
Yes.
Florence Henderson was like she was, but then after that, on Friday night, the Love
Right, that's
Boat.
like then you see they'll show you, well, you know, we have the sweet shows that we'll show, and that you then they will try to put it on after hours, you know, like, well, the kids supposed to be in the bed by now, so we'll put on Love American Style at 11 o'clock, and then we'll put on Mary Hartman where they would do
Mary Hart, yeah,
all
Mary
that
Hart, yeah.
feminist stuff and birth control, and you're gonna have sex and you need this birth control, and you know, telling her mama she old fashioned and we just use birth control and we have sex and do all this stuff, and it's like, what is going on? But this is the way you shape and mold the next generation, and you start changing the way you what you show them and show them this, and then that's how you get to the 70s. In the 70s, you got all this free love, and free love is just sex. That's all it is,
Ain't no
and
love.
drugs. This is how you get it because they changed the culture through mass media.
And the church went right along with it.
And they went right along with it.
Joe Biden said Will and Grace, that TV show, did more for the homosexual community than any of the activist groups out there.
What? Because it's on a massive scale. And now sometimes, even right now, see, it's because it depends on who you have in office, how hard they go at something.
That's true.
So it's like, so now that, take the mute off.
Okay.
So now that you have a president that's not really, he's not into the whole agenda of pushing forward, you know, that LGBT and the rest of the letters,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you go harder in other areas. So I noticed that when I used to watch TV, they started playing, when he got into office, they started playing Will and Grace.
They did
4 times a day.
Yes, on what was like Me TV or something.
TV, yes.
And that was so clean at first.
Yes.
Okay, are you all off mute now, Gary?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I remember when I was growing up, watching TV during what they would call prime time. So, you know, there's like 8 o'clock, and I guess they would play television shows that were supposed to be acceptable for kids to watch. But I remember there was a certain local channel that would say, it's 9 o'clock. Do you know what your children are watching?
Mm.
Every night at 9 o'clock without fail.
Wow.
Because they knew they were about to start broadcasting or start with the programming that, you know, to the general public was unacceptable for children to be watching. And now it's just a free-for-all.
And guess what? Often your churches don't even say that to the people. Now that's what's really amazing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I remember when TV did that. But when Ann is talking about broadcasting, when you want to change a culture, especially if you listen to Dr. Ravi Zacharias talk about it, you start changing the words. You start changing the meanings of words. After you start changing the meanings of words, you give them different flavor. You start making things more acceptable through the media, and that's how you change your culture. You start saying the rigid ways that you saw things before are totally unacceptable. It's outdated, and you fight against it, and you change the culture. When you change the culture, you change the law, because in changing the culture, you change the way people, what they will accept, what they won't accept, and at that same time, the things that used to be unacceptable become acceptable. Whatever is taboo is now accepted, and that which was once taboo, once it's accepted, then the things that you had that was okay to do, you still get to do those. And the only thing to become taboo now are the laws that they say held people back.
Garrett's Soap. It was a show called Soap
Uh-huh.
that they did that on that, and they did. It was like this was weird. It was like I've and in my mind, this was like so. This is how white people live. Because you didn't
Yeah.
really see any black people. They may have a speck here and there, but you thinking
Yeah.
this is how they live, and then it's like this is weird. But if I keep showing it to you and I keep showing it to you, and then you start believing that the whole world is doing this, because how could this be on TV if the whole world is not doing it? How could this be on TV if the whole world don't believe that homosexuality is a good thing? How could this be? And it's a lie. It's an illusion. And you say, well, everybody wants them to have these rights, and everybody wants them to be able to do this, and everybody, and this is what you portray on television, and you show me, you make the news, and you set up lies, and you say you in a particular part of the country, and you're not. You're in the studio, and you making news. You're lying. These are not people just walking off the street. You all are in a studio, and you're making lies. You're making news, and the point is that people trust media like they trust their mama. And they say whatever they say, it must be good because they said it. And they said it on a massive scale. And some of them will bring up a tear and they'll cry a little bit. This is acting. People don't realize that these are actors. That is a stage you're watching.
It is. I see that what Brittany said is I agree with your wife regarding the media. The same indoctrination and influence of acceptance and cultural norms are going on in the schools where I teach.
Wow.
That's their hotbed.
Yes.
That's their hotbed. That's where they get you. And the reason that they get you in there is because we can train you from the time that you're a child. That's why we want your children pre-K, pre-K, and then the cartoons. I remember when Naomi and Josiah was little and they wanted to watch the Wiggles, and Gary said, I'm not letting these grown men wiggle in front of my children. I remember that because, our children were big, the
Right.
Wiggles. And I remember they started breaking norms in cartoons. I'm at to mute Gary and Drake. They
You
can
turn
mute
it
when they're
down a
not
little bit.
talking.
Yeah, mute. Yeah, you all mute your phone when you're not talking and unmute it when you want to.
That way you'll be in control because you got powers.
Okay.
And so what ends up happening is they had cat dog.
Yes.
They started making the things androgynous.
Yes.
And then they had all this Save the Planet.
Yes. Captain Planet.
And so then they had, and then they would always have these gods on the cartoons. He-Man. Remember what was it called? Some of the universe He-Man was?
Yeah, Master.
Master. Those are powerful terms. Then you would have Isis. You have Nietzsche's Superman or Uberman. You would have Thor. You have Prince Namor, Prince of the Sea. They knew they would have Molech in cartoons. Well,
yes.
So what you begin to realize is that there's this book. I brought that book in here. I don't know where I put it. The Long War Against God. Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna look around for
No,
it.
I actually brought it in here and I set it down.
On the side of your chair? Look down.
Let me look.
On the other side.
On this side. Is it book over here? No, don't worry about it. It's by Dr. Henry Morris, The Long War Against God. We'll talk about it more in other times, Andrina. I got enough books up there to validate that these kind of things been going on. But what I really want to say is, today, Andrina gave me some sad news. I looked it up, not because I didn't believe her, but it was worse. But it was worse than what she said. Well, today she was telling me about President Donald Trump. And you tell it while I let them look at the front.
No, you read it. Go ahead and go.
That's The Long War Against God. That book here talks about how evolution and all that stuff came into what they would call the Christian church And when you take evolution to the Christian church, you get to promote more of that do as you will, which is the whole of the law, according to Aleister Crowley. They passed the Pride Act Wednesday. The congressional part of our government, that includes the Congressional Black Caucus. They passed the Pride Act. The Pride Act is this. We are now going to give reparations to gays, lesbians, whoever it was. We're going to give them reparations in the tune of $67 million because we didn't allow them before, to get married, and they lost all of that money. And that's what the congressional body of Congress did. Now let me get down where I want to be. Your Congressional Black Caucus, that you can show me what they've ever done for you as black people. Show me where they ever stood up for righteousness and godliness. Show me where they are the same people. When I go and look at the Equality Act and see who has voted for it, they voted to give 67 million reparation to say that these people have been hurt. They have been done, and our lands have been taken. You've used our labor for free. You had Thomas Jefferson writing that in the Declaration of Independence, it was for life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. Niggers, niggers, niggers. The pursuit of black people, not the pursuit of happiness. If that were the case, all men were created equal. Tell me how equal you were when the whip was going shapow on your back, shapow on your back. Or some man got you on the ground digging in your bottom with his penis. And he's doing it in front of your child, in front of your daughter, in front of the whole community, and in front of your wife. And he's laughing. Tell me where you created equal in that. Show me where you created equal when they can come in and take your daughter when that child get to be 11 or 12 and his rite of passage is to rape your wife in any orifice he chooses to, or your daughter, or beat them. Show me, show me, show me. Then show me when you make laws that once they get what is called emancipated by a proclamation, that you decide we don't have anybody to pick this cotton anymore. We're going to make it a law that slavery or involuntary servitude will not exist in the United States except for a penalty for someone that is convicted of a crime in the United States or its jurisdiction. The 13th Amendment. You didn't say a felony. You didn't say a murder. It says a crime. So what we're going to do, we're going to make black codes. If three black people are together without permission, crime, lock them up. You sell your own food. If you do have a piece of land, after a certain time, crime. You go work for somebody without getting permission, crime. We lock you up. So I remember that time I read that letter from Ezekiel Archie. He's not the only person that was sold in convict leasing. Birmingham, Alabama was built by that. But we created equal. So that same thing is perpetuated in these movies. When you got the black man, Boss Eyes didn't do nothing. And then they showed on that video where somebody was stealing the chickens and the man started shooting, the black man coming out. And then you take anything that black people have done worthy and say it's white. Bass Reeves, children don't know anything about him, was what you would call the Lone Ranger. And they put Clayton Moore as the Lone Ranger. I got to see it one time in my life happen. Go ahead, Precious Love.
That's just amazing that you really stole identity.
Identity theft.
And instead of you telling the truth, because you had the information.
Yeah.
You knew who was who and who did what. But you're going to say you did it. What kind of psychosis, or better yet, wickedness do you have to have inside of you? What type of evil? That is like, oh, I'm going to be him. That's the mentality you have. Everything is a show. It's a farce. And it's like, and you underneath it, there's a strong stream of wickedness. Because I don't ever want you to know that you ever did anything that meant anything. And you can hear some of these people talk. Sometimes I listen to the other side where these people whose parent owned plantations, and and they were there and they could remember, and they're older people in their 90s and stuff, and they talking about, you know, they were lazy and they didn't really do that much, and they were like children. We had to take care of them, and they didn't really want to work. They weren't good at being slaves. What?
Don't it feel like Jephthah? See, people don't know the Bible. They don't know about Jephthah. Jephthah told the history the way it really was, because he was a man that knew the history. You took our history, you gave Clayton more, and I saw it happen in my lifetime before I recognized. See, there was a Chinese man by the name of Bruce Lee. Oh, that's the American name he chose, and he was good at what he did. They let him be on a show called The Green Hornet, and he stole the show. Bruce Lee jumped up there and kicked the light out the ceiling, and the Green Hornet, all of a sudden, now he looked like he was nothing. Because I remember watching Batman, and when the Green Hornet come on, I wanted to see Kato. I didn't know who Bruce Lee was. But after a certain time, Bruce Lee made his own movies. Mm-hmm. The media just letting us see him. To see a man that could fight like that. I saw this is before people wanted to be like Mike. I saw so many black guys thinking they were Bruce Lee. They would take broom handles and cut. Then they would take some of their mama's chairs or something, cut the legs, put a screw eye in it, put a chain in it, and they out there trying to do stuff. Some of them hit themselves in the head. Some of them get good with it. And then some of them get to kicking at each other and might get beat up. James Brown made a song talking about, I don't know karate, but I know karate. In other words, kicking me, I'm going to cut you. They made a song called Kung Fu Fighting. Yeah. But when it came time, we want to make a series out of somebody that can do that kind of fighting. Bruce Lee was the one that they were going to pick. But guess what? They replaced him with Panty Man.
Don't call him that. What's his real name?
David Carradine.
Lord have mercy.
And he talked like this.
Let me just tell you this.
Okay, please do, Precious.
This is I don't want to say ironic because it's not ironic. That's not the word, but this is amazing. Okay. So they're now upset because they're going to make this cartoon character, Ariel, they're going to make her black. They're like, no, we can't have a black Ariel. And no, you can't have a black Spider-Man. And no, you can't have a black James Bond. And no, you can't have a black Annie. Now we're talking about
fictitious
characters, but you took our real people. What's the biggest sin? You took our real people, our real history, and you made it you. You said you did it. You just lied.
And this is why I love the words of Yeshua. He tells me how to look at that. You see, some people will strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. And so now you all that don't know why I call, this is Ann and I, and you all are in on our conversation. I'm so glad to have you all in the round table with us. The reason I call David Carradine Panty Man, they say he hung himself and he was dead in panties and all of that. And so, wearing panties. So when Ann and I talk, all I got to do is say panty man.
Wasn't it what they call that
erotica? And like when Robin Williams died, he died hanging himself by a door, and they don't want to tell you what's going on for real, see. Because we protect our own. We protect our own. And so what ends up happening is, not only was Bass Reeves, they did all that arrest and all that stuff, a black man, they made him white. And then when you start looking at a lot of the travels, like when you talk about the first people that ever go into Alaska. And didn't they talk about that on the video too? But yeah, he did. The black man. When you start talking about mining gold and silver, all of that. This book right there, you see that one at the top, right there where I'm pointing to. From Babylon to Timbuktu. A pastor gave me that book. And that book shows that the king of Timbuktu, they had so much gold that they could just line the ground with it. This man was way, way rich. For what you would talk about riches, more than Jeff Bezos. Somebody say, how can you be richer than Jeff Bezos? Well, when you want to talk about it, all they can do, they can remove numbers and take his wealth. They can change the numbers and take his wealth. When we're talking about real. But when you get to TV, all of the Africans, Ungawa, 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 and they're savages. And then you make every black man African. That is a lie. Bibliocentrism would not even allow you to say that the only people that were black were Ham. But let me just throw this out here for fun. They show us, and go back there if you will, and get Tim one of those big books you made me to buy from Ty. One of those big books that got all that supposed to be Jewish history in it. Get me one. I don't care which one out of the 5 volumes. I think all of them still got it in there. But I just want to show those that have saw fit to join us. I want you to see how they show and they depict the slavery in Egypt. But then when you watch TV, as much as I thought Charlton Heston was a good actor, but he got to play Moses. And I like the Gospel of John. But everybody that's ever been anybody in the scripture, he can't ever have the color that we have or that the real Hebrews had. Let me just put it like this in case you don't like what I'm saying. Because there was a man that left our assembly eventually. He didn't like me saying this stuff. But as many people as were Hamites that would breed with the children of Israel, why is it then all of these people can be Jerry Seinfeld's color? Can you see any of those pictures, Ann? I put it in front of the camera. Mm-hmm. You can. The slaves. Why is it that the slaves, when you show them on TV, are white? Even at the bottom of the dust cover. Why?
That's depicting all the people that came into their area and how they saw color. They saw color too.
They could paint. They could do.
They knew who.
They got the colors right on this robe. Now, I understand. Okay, I'll pass it back to you. I just want people to understand. Tim, you're just saying stuff. No, if it doesn't matter, listen to me. Please listen to me carefully. When something doesn't matter, you should see randomness. If something doesn't matter and it's not regimented and it's not orchestrated, you should see randomness. But when I see everybody, when I see Adam, Eve, Cain, Abel, Noah, the ark, David, Joshua, Abraham, Ezekiel, Elijah, Daniel, even the people in Persia. And when you look and you see real documentation and drawings of the people in Persia, they were not European. So why all of a sudden when I get to Matthew, 11, Mark, Luke, John, everybody got to be white? And it doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, why does it matter when I look at my books, Baker Bookhouse, WordPress, Zondervan? God, I don't even know all of the names of the things. There's another one. That's Baker Bookhouse. That's Baker Bookhouse. That's Morris. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the point being made is if it doesn't matter, why don't I see randomness? I will submit to you, in the same way black people were depicted on that film, it was meant to make fun of us. It was meant to make us look like nothing. And I want to talk about solutions now. What is a solution? Is the solution Antifa? Is the solution to go in and look at Black Lives Matter, look at the founders of Black Lives Matter, go to Wikipedia and see that not only are they grand proponents of the LGBTQ or whatever the movement is, and you start looking at other ones that are anarchy, and you start looking at the other ones that just really want you to go and not keep laws so that you can become an enemy of the state and be destroyed. I would submit to you that the solution is for us to come back to God's word. We got to come back to Yah's word. Let me explain something. You can never get the righteousness of God if you're going to say at the same time, say, I'm going to embrace living a life of free sex, free love. You can never get the righteousness and the blessings of the Most High if you're going to be out here violating and being violent to people that come up or that are the descendants of people that were slave owners, slave masters that did not control what happened. Yes, they benefited. They benefited very well because the land that they took from the people that were black here, you depict them on TV as white. You even saw identity theft on the cowboy and Indians pictures, didn't you? You saw the white man that would be the actor and he would paint his face. Yes, you did. You saw it. But do you realize that the cowboys really were black? They weren't white. Every now and then you would see a black one. But when you read Tim Hayshaw's book, and it talks about the black people that came from Angola that taught them about buckaroos. When they taught our white brothers how to do cattle, you'll begin to find out that we knew about cattle. They wasn't doing that in Europe. You want to talk about the cold parts of the Caucasus Mountains? You want to talk about how they lived, and they would go from one place to the other that was flat, and they were afraid that Muhammad was going to come and destroy them? Huh? And they were afraid on the other side that the Christian or the Roman Catholic Church was going to come and destroy them. And then you got Russia that was coming in on the people on that same side over there to destroy them. And they had to determine what we're going to do. How is it all of a sudden you think they were doing all this cattle and stuff over here in America? It wasn't so. You look up the FOLSOM, Folsom people that were indigenous to this country, blacker than me. I would fail to be black, brown, cafe. A little Spanish from my brother Gary. See, I know a word or two, Gary. But the other thing is, look at all of their statues. Look at all of their images in South America. Black like me. And God knows if you watch the video, you will see a lot of the paintings that Picasso painted came from the artwork of the black people. And now because he painted it, it was so great. Not only did he just paint it, but the Africans made it. And let's not even talk about fractals, F-R-A-C-T-A-L-S. The mathematical genius of those people that you call savages. You made us like we were nothing. Then you brought us over here. You gave us a form of Christianity. You took the word of God and you made it to be something that it wasn't because we couldn't read your language. And not being able to read your language, you gave us holidays that would make our God turn against us. God knows by the time I get to the book of Numbers, it's going to be so sweet. It's going to be so delicious. And because Numbers is going to show that the master plan of Satan has always been make them give up their culture. Make them turn against their God. God has a patriarchal system and the American and our American white sisters don't like it. And so they start what is called feminism. And black women get behind the feminism. But black women, you will never be on top. Believe that. You can put your breast in their baby's mouth. You can wash the dirt off their face. You can clean their child's bottom. And you might even have sex with that man, but you will not enjoy the power and the prestige that they have. Because that's going to be ours. We want to be like those Amazon women that they talk about. I want you to understand something. When God did things in a patriarchal way, he knew what he was doing. He knew what protection he wanted to have for women, and he knew what protection he wanted for the children, and he never wanted to be something that was demeaning. It became demeaning when man left what God said, and when man left what God said, they started treating the women like chattel. and they start treating the women like servants, and then you would see they would sell their daughters, and God, Yahweh told them don't do that. But they did it. And then they start putting their wife away for every cause. They did that. Now look at where we are in the world. We don't have order. So we're going to rewrite the Bible. China's going to rewrite theirs. And when the Bible says something about a man, he never wanted the women to have to go out to war and fight. He never wanted them to go out to the war and fight. Most of the time, the women don't start the wars anyway. And so now, when we start teaching the Bible, we start feeling like the women's supposed to be over the man. That's not what God wanted. If he'd have wanted that, why didn't he go ahead and choose 12 women and let the men stay at home and let them be lazy, let them be sorry, let them be an at-home mom? Because it's war, and you are supposed to be able to war if necessary. That's true. Why did he have 12 tribes? Why wasn't Dinah a tribe? Jacob had a daughter. At least we know one that he know of, Dinah. Why don't we have a tribe of Dinah? If you trying to make it like the woman ain't nothing, that's a damnable lie. You don't understand the scripture. You ought to shut your mouth, because he said they two become one. Whatever authority or power that God grants me in this life was supposed to be able to be shared with my wife. If I was to go outside of God's word and get another wife, he said, you don't diminish aught against that first one. I didn't set that mess up. You gonna call yourself gonna get another one? You better not diminish aught, because I got something for you. I can let him whip you. Brother Wallace said, hey, Brother Wallace, he joined my buddy, Brother Wallace now. But let's go back to the sweet part. What we gonna do for? Yeah, I know you ought to have something to say now, because I got wide open.
You keep going.
What's the solution? The solution to propagandizement is we got to stop doing so much TV. We got to stop letting people give you their ideologies and call it news. You see, when you give me a fact and you tell me what to think about it, for instance, if I say that Atlanta is full of crime, and it's okay because I got a black skin. Now let's say one of my friends, Richard Smith, who is white, if he said Atlanta is full of crime, and when he said, you say he's racist, it's not righteous judgment. If it was true when I said it, it's true when he says it. If you don't call that racist because a white person said, you're not dealing with truth. You're dealing with emotion. And therefore, if we're going to ever get away from these things, we need to understand what racism is. Let me explain what racism is. The definition that I will accept may not be the one that you'll accept, but I'm not going to buy yours. Prejudice, bigotry, most of the time, that's what people identify. And sometimes it's just the truth. I guarantee you when people are playing football, if you're black, if you can take that ball and run across the end zone, folks going to be black, white, Chinese, whatever on that team, Korean, jumping up and down excited. But if you're black and you fumble, they're going to want you off the team. They want me off the team because I'm black. No, they want you off because you fumble. And the defense got to stay out there. They want you off the team because when you dribbling, you keep getting the ball stolen. They want you off the team because you keep shooting the basketball and you missing. You don't pass. In sports, when it comes to morality. So what ends up happening is we show partiality in judgment. And a white man say something, it's bad. A black man say something, if we black is good. Black man say something, if you're white and you don't love God, the black man wrong. And the white man say it is good. That's why when people think I'm a conservative, it's like, why would I want to be that? When conservative is getting things back like it was. Now, I'm not ascribing to when they say make America great again and make America white again. That ain't what I'm saying. But I am saying that under that particular code, what happened is there were laws that were written against us, and many people benefited from it and didn't know that it was set up to give you a certain amount of privilege. And because it was set up that way, when somebody say make America great again is make America white again, there's some stuff that's inside of that you got to deal with because it's true. Let's say we make everything exactly like it was in the 1800s. How good would it be for a black man right now with slave codes or the black codes, or that you get locked up, or the 14th Amendment being made because Dred Scott, a free man, was captured. And they said, guess what? You ran away and you got free. You don't have no rights, boy. Boy, you don't have
Mm-hmm.
no rights. We're going to lock you back up. Although your Declaration of Independence say you're created equal. But now you got people marching around, the people that he separated from their family on the border. And they got your children locked up in jails, in prison, 3 strikes and they're out for the stuff that they brought over here with the Nicaragua Contra rebels when they were supporting the freedom fighters. And they brought all that. Didn't they bring that cocaine to California where Rick Ross, the real one, was? Brought that mess in, and you don't care? And you gonna say, separate from your family? What about all these children separated from their daddies? What about separating you from your family with the Great Society when you dumped all that money on the black woman, kicked them out of the house like the movie Claudine with James Earl Jones and Diane Carroll? And the reason he want to marry her is because, well, she going to lose her benefits, and then I got to take care of these children. All of this stuff that you did, you create social engineering programs that bring us down. You put us in projects. We think the projects is the name of it. No, project is what we are doing. You're being experimented on. You're being looked at like lab rats. And so what ends up happening is you got all this going on, and you want a solution, and you don't want to identify the problem.
Don't ever want to do that. Benign neglect.
I was going to say that you tell about benign neglect while I drink me some water.
Well, it's a problem that everybody knows exists, but your solution is to never speak of it. And if we never speak of it, then that means we don't have to do anything about it. And peradventure, the people will die off, they'll move, wherever, and whatever the problem is, maybe it'll just, dissolve some sort of way. But we're not going to address it. We're not going to talk about it. We all know that it's happening, but let's pretend that it doesn't exist. And so we never have to do anything about it. And so that's what has been happening with gentrification. That is what's been happening in these neighborhoods, these black neighborhoods. Let's not talk about that. You don't allow us to produce anything, and I do really mean you don't allow. And so,
explain, please.
Well, you have a system set up where you have free trade, but not within the confines of your own country. So everybody else can, import things in to sell to us. We're the perpetual consumers.
Mm-hmm.
We're not producing. It's just until recently, black people couldn't even have the only thing they could really have is like a barbershop, a hair salon, something that had something to do with beauty, or something that had something to do with just something to make yourself look better. But as far as mass producing clothes, mass producing food, we are not in that game. It's like we were kept out. We've been kept as consumers, and we're consumers for the whole world because they're bringing in food to us. Well, we had farmers that were producing food. We had farmers, and the same farmers they sold bad seed to. That's another story.
And when they did the bad seed, then they put up the farm bank. What was the name of those banks that they set up and they got the people bankrupt and took the land from the black farmers? Was it the Federal Land Bank? And that's what it was, right?
Yeah.
And people don't know anything about that they did. Go ahead,
and
Precious.
So what communities we had, we don't have anymore. I remember even being able to go on Martin Luther King and certain in Ashby in that area, and it was like there was black businesses there. You had Bronner Brothers. That wasn't it, Bronner Brothers.
Yeah, Bronner Brothers.
There.
Yeah.
And then you had
Sellers Brothers.
Sellers Brothers. You had
Steak Frazier's across the street.
Yeah, and what's the other?
Pascal's Hotel.
Yeah, you had all those, and it's like, and you go over, and it's like it doesn't look the same anymore. And what communities that we've seen people come in and take the land and price the regular residents or the ones who own the land out. You have given them these high property taxes that they can't pay. They even took people's land over in Summer Hill and said that this is a flood zone and it's no good. You can't stay here. And they was saying that we don't have floods over here.
When it under American Seam read when they did that as well.
And they took those people's land so they can build that stadium over there.
They built the TED, and that's Georgia State's.
So, but I mean, there are a lot of things that it's like we're not going to talk about that is really happening.
Make sure that it's known that that's a real policy. Was it Mulvaney that did it? It was under Richard Reagan, Richard Nixon administration, and I'll look it up while you talk. But it was called Benign Patrick J. Moynihan. That was his name.
So what we saw recently is that Baltimore, and I don't want to talk about Baltimore. Just to say this is that it was under benign neglect. And somebody said something about it.
Yes.
And that is it's unspeakable to tell the truth now. That's what I mean. So when I tell the truth and say that it really is this way, and you have residents that are saying, it's true, it really is true, somebody help us. What happened? And it's like we're being ignored because you're under benign neglect. A lot of cities where a lot of black people are, because people say, well, their answer to that was, well, you could take any city and say that it's rat infested and it has crime, but it's under benign neglect, see? And most of those inner cities are where black people live. You still you call yourself defending it, but you're still making what you would call a racist statement when you say you could take any city and say that, because that's mainly where the black people live, in the inner city, what they call urban. So, that's what we call benign neglect. When you stop really looking, we're not going to talk about that. Let's talk about other stuff. We're not going to talk about the crime and, the poor housing codes that we have, and our children having asthma because of the roaches and the rat infestations. We're not going to talk about that. But what we're going to do is we're going to say this is the new thing that we're supposed to talk about, because guess what? The media said we need to be concerned about this, and they set your agenda. And your agenda is to care about what's happening at the border. No, your agenda is to care about what's going on in your community, what's going on in your city, where you live, how you can make it better. What are your representatives doing? What are your councilmen doing? Are they doing anything to fix that? But you're telling me you're setting my agenda, and they've been setting our agenda, and we've been going along with it. If they say hate this person, we're going to hate this person. We're not going to ask any questions. We're going to let them line it up from 4 o'clock in the evening to 11 o'clock at night. All day long, we're going to watch CNN, MSNBC, and they're going to set our agenda. They're going to tell us what to be upset about, what somebody said. We're going to tell you, well, that's okay, and you should really care about it, have feelings about, these people not being able to get married or something like that, which they could get married. We're not supposed to talk about, thank you, Dree, Flint, Michigan, with the water situation. It's under benign neglect.
And she's a Michiganite. She ought to speak up. Dree, speak up. You probably know more about Michigan than we do. You haven't been in Michigan in a long time, but you probably know more about it than Tim does.
No, I had just texted a message, and that's what I was saying. Flint, Michigan must be under benign neglect now, because for months the media was talking about it, and now you don't hear
anything else about it. And they still don't have clean water.
Let me tell you what I believe is happening.
And they still don't have clean water.
Let me tell you what I think is happening, because I've watched it. That's one of the advantages I have being older than you, Andrea. If it's an advantage, seeing it firsthand versus seeing it you can see it on film. But the thing is, that's how you take the land from people.
Yes.
You do benign neglect. You price it where they can't live in anymore. Then you take it and build up Atlanta.
Yes.
I drive through Atlanta and I see certain sides of the town where all of these big high rises, and they got a whole community here. Marco's Pizza, super duper Kroger with everything you want in it, the dry cleaner, your shoe fixer. And what happened is you build these communities. We're going to change your voting block.
Yeah.
We're going to change it and make it what we want it to be, and we're going to drive you all out. So we're going to let it get dilapidated. Now, I know in Dearborn, Michigan, the black people that live there that built it up and all this, you gone now. You've been replaced. You've been replaced. Your schools and everything, somebody else get to take it. And so what happens is your congressional black caucus, you got senators, and you got people that obviously they go against God's word. We're going to get into God's word in a minute, baby love. But the point is that when you take a gift and you call lobbying and you don't call it bribery, you take gifts and you take these gifts and you let people die. You let their homes be taken. And you told me this horrible story today where somebody's house was sold and the man has the deed to his house because it was been a package deal. Somebody forged his name and sold his house. Yeah. If he hadn't called it, could have been grandfathered. And the point that I'm saying is, what do? We got to come back to the Most High. And I'm going to say this, and if anytime somebody don't like it, and if they hate me for it, prove me wrong. We got to come out from under being subservient to our white brothers and to their system of theology. See what I said? We got to come out of that system. We got to come out of a system where we got to be overlorded, overruled, and taken control by. Let me give you a case in point. If you're a Mormon, that didn't come from the Bible. That came from Joseph Smith and whatever spirit he was dealing with, he called Moroni. If you're in the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society out of Brooklyn, New York, that didn't come from the Bible. That came from Charles Taz Russell, who also followed along with the Christadelphians. If you're following under Seventh-day Adventists, depending on what side you come from, but if you come from that side that had Ellen G. White as the prophet, that came up from under William Miller, if you come from certain things in the Baptist, if you come from certain things out of Louis Berry Schaeffer, if you're coming out of certain things that come from John Calvin, certain things that come from Martin Luther, I'm saying I don't have a problem with white people telling me the truth, but I need to know what did God say through Moses? What did he say through Joshua who heard Moses? What did he say through Samuel and the prophets? What did he say through the judges? What did he say during the times of the king? What did Yeshua HaMashiach, the Lord Christ, say? And I need to see what they said. And when I compare it to what you said, if I find that what you're telling me is something to keep me enslaved, to put me in colonialism, is to put a white skin above me, that's a damnable lie. I must needs go back to what God has said. This is why you have so many black people right now going to the religion that enslaved them and castrated them and took their wives and raped them before our white brothers did. Islam. Now, if you're going to say before, I mean before what we have in America. Alexander, he came in and brought his Greek mess during the time of the Maccabees. He brought his mess in and they did everything they could to remove our culture. He moved our culture, changed our eating, changed the days that we worshiped on, etc. I would submit to you that if we don't come back to the Most High God, the propaganda is going to work. God's word gives us culture.
Yeah.
It tells us first thing to have a presupposition of life that cannot be changed at any time, at any place, past, present, or future. That is number one, that Yahweh, I am is your God. Now, I say Yahweh, I think Patrick say Yahuwah, and I think some people say Yahuwah. And I'm telling you now that when you look at Ehiye, Asher, Ehiye, Ahiyah, anyway, they have different ways they do the vowels. But we're talking about the same one. When he's your presupposition of what is right, when you're going to interpret all facts of your reality, of your life and your experience through what he says, when you determine that your ethics and your morality is going to be based on what he says because he's God, and then when you look for your final decision, whether it's going to be death, damnation, or life eternal, you look to him. you're going to build a culture. Number two, when you don't make any graven images, you don't have anything that somebody can look to and diminish the first one, that he's almighty. Then when you don't take his name in vain, you won't say, I'm following Yeshua, I'm following God, but I'm stealing from my brother, but I'm lying on my brother. I'm doing everything violating the first commandment. When you take his Sabbath and you make it holy, when you make your Sabbath, you make your life. Yes, the Sabbath is a day to make it holy. He set that up. But I'm telling you, if you sanctify a Sabbath, but you don't enter into the rest of God and make your life holy, just like Andrina had me to read last night in Luke 174, there was an oath that he swore to Abraham that he would deliver his people out of the hand of their enemies and those that hate them, but they would serve him in holiness and righteousness before him all the days. That's the rest that Christ wanted you. Come into my rest. Then when you learn to honor your father and mother, you begin to understand father and mother don't just mean somebody had a penis, somebody had a vagina, there was an egg, there was a sperm, there was a fertilization. What you begin to realize, here's a person in the role of God for you on a human sense, to instruct you, to correct you, to train you, so that you would know how to help you, somebody you can see as an image that's in the image of God, to point you to the Most High, so that you know everything is based upon him, even your parents. Then when he tell you not to kill or to murder somebody because they're in my image, you got your focus right. He's in the image. So somebody say, Tim, you don't like white folk. That's a damnable lie. They're in the image of God. They are image bearers of God. All of us get outside of God's image bearing and we all need to come home. But don't go telling me one is better than me just because his skin color. That's a damnable lie. Bible weighs fruit. And then he tells me, don't steal. That means they got the right to own something. I don't care if it's your family. Don't steal. I got a key to my brother Gary's house. So does that mean that when I go to Gainesville and if his wife is at work and he's at work, I can go in there and go find me something that I can sell? That's wicked. He should lock me up if I don't pay him back. I don't even go in his house like that unless he tell me to go do something. The next one, don't commit adultery. You don't go mixing marriages. You don't go mixing stuff. Now I'm saying stuff because guys in the street, they got a way that they say mixing stuff, and women have a way. But you don't go giving somebody else bacteria to your wife. You don't go bringing somebody else in your bosom. God said you don't take another God. I say that the marriage is the first institution. It replicates my relationship with you. You don't take another God. You don't go and take another wife and commit adultery on her. Neither do you bear false witness. And when we go into that in a minute, that culture that he's setting up. Just think about a culture where first you honor God. You don't take his name in vain. You don't make images. So you don't have somebody say, man, it's better than yours. You need to bow to mine. You need to pay No. And then you keep it every day. You keep it the Sabbath, but you keep it every day holy. You're honoring parents. Parents are following God like they should. You're not out murdering your brother. You're not stealing from your brother. You're not committing adultery. Now somebody else got a woman that they can have because you're not married and you got your 2 or 3 mistresses on the side. There are some women that's available and the woman have to worry about you. Nobody going to give her husband anything on the side. You're not bearing false witness. You're not being lied on. Neither are you lying on anybody unless there's a punishment, and then you don't covet. You're not, man, I want to live there. I want to live there. And if we don't have that culture, they can always propagandize us. You need this new car.
Well, we're going to always be, we're going to be shifty like they are. We're going to be unstable as they are. We're going to be subject to change. As the culture goes on, it's going to change. That's going to change. What's the new thing today? That's old now. This is a new thing now. And whatever is what they call trending, and the way you see the world, the way you even think about what you call your God, it's trending.
It is.
The way you serve him, it's trending. And that's what you've done. And you're not rooted and grounded in anything except the wisdom of this world. And it's always changing. And it's not really wisdom. It's what James say,
earthly.
It's earthly, sensual, and devilish. But you know, you talked about solutions, and a scripture just kept coming to my mind.
Well, I'm glad you didn't forget it.
1 Corinthians 1 and 10. Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord, that you speak the same thing, that you all speak the same thing, and that there be no divisions among you, but that you be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. And so that passage goes on to talk about the wisdom of this world, who is wise, and say the things that we're going to be thinking about and the way we think is going to be foolishness to them. But they have a unity that we don't have. It says, where is the wise? We said, for it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and I will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. And he's talking about the people that are wise in this world, those people that you watch who are so crafty and can tell you certain things on television and get you to believe it. And if they keep saying it, every hour on the hour, we keep repeating and repeating and repeating. They've already studied you long enough to know that that's how people learn by repetition.
But we don't want to hear. But we don't want to hear preaching over and over again.
No, you don't.
Keep saying.
And so it says, where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of this world? Until you start seeing that the wisdom of this world is foolishness, you're going to keep going along with the tide. You're going to keep going with the grain and not against it. You're going to keep being moved and tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine that comes across the television set. And you're going to shake your children into that same mold, and they're going to be unstable, just like you're unstable.
Yes. And they ain't going to let your boys be men. They're going to make your boys effeminate. But here's another thing. I went to the solutions, and the solutions that you're giving, not only is that helping me, but there's some more that I want to add to it. Those that are watching, let's go to Exodus chapter 20. Okay. This is one of the things Ann talks about so much. God is making a culture. Yes. If you notice from verse 1 all the way down to where you get to verse number 17, you see that's what we call the 10 Commandments. Yes, sir. It's really 10 words. Yes, sir. Now I understand why Roshas J. Rushdoony call it God's law word. Okay. Because they are words. But these are what these words meant extrapolated. Now notice when the people saw in verse 18, the thunderings, the lightnings, the trumpets, the mountains, and they said to Moses, well, they were removed and stood afar off. And they said to Moses, you speak to us, we'll hear you. Let not God, lest we die. One of the sickest and the saddest things ever is I want a mediator. And so Moses told the people to fear not. God did these things so that they would end up fearing him. But what I want you to do now, that you sin not, what I want to do is take you to see where he's building a culture. Chapter 21, verse 1. Andrina, read a little bit for Tim, please. You're so pretty.
Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy an Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing.
That's biblical slavery right there. That word slavery. And then if you buy a Hebrew servant, if somebody is in debt, if somebody owes somebody and they don't have what they need to pay it, and you make a deal to buy that person, you cannot own them forever. There's a 6-year maximum, and there's going to be a prescription of how you treat it. And if you can tell me America did this, I'm going to tell you that you're telling me a damnable lie with your mouth, because the truth is not in you. Because I ain't going to tell you, you can't tell me that. You can tell me that, but you'll be wrong. What does the next tweeted verse say?
If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him.
His wife, not your mistress, not your dog, not somebody you got pregnant by, got pregnant, and then you decide, okay, well, we're senators and we're congressmen, we'll go and we'll make Harvard University for our mulatto children to go to, because we do want to give them a piece of education, so we'll make a college for them, because we don't want them in our white colleges. Read some more, Andrina.
If his master have given him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself.
Next.
And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife,
I love him. Now, I love my master. We ain't talking about that kind of stuff. Go ahead.
My wife and my children, I will not go out free. Then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost. And his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever.
This is the way we're supposed to be toward God. That God is such a good master. I don't want to leave. As I was teaching the other night in the psalm, as the servant looks to the hand of his master, as the servant woman looks to the hand of her mistress. Here this man is treating him so well. I don't want to leave. You say, well, he don't want to leave just because of his wife. First of all, I got to understand something. The woman was in slavery too. And so you want to stay with this woman. You can leave. She didn't belong to you. And this is what's being set up here. This is setting up a culture. This woman is taken care of where she is right now. This man is obligated and he's taking care of her. If you want to stay there and take care of it, you can. Read some more, please.
And if a man, where am I?
You're at verse number 7.
And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant.
See, sell his daughter to be a maidservant. Go ahead.
She shall not go out as the men servants do.
Read some more.
If she please not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a strange nation he shall have no power, seeing he hath dealt deceitfully with her.
You're not just gonna have sex with this woman. You're not just gonna screw her, as they call it, okay? Betrothed means you engaged to marry. She is not your sex toy. This is building a culture of righteousness. You want to know what the solution is? Let's look at the primary thing of how people are to be treated. This means that these people are created equal, but they're unequal in their status when it comes to money, but they're equal. All of them are under God. And you're not going to send her out there to do the work that the men do. And if you don't treat her right, you're not selling her to another nation that will abuse her. Read some more.
And if he have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters.
And you better not mistreat her. Fool. Read the next one.
I wanted to say that goes back to the that verse up at the top where he gives the servant a wife. He's dealing with her as a daughter.
Mm-hmm. Who gives this woman?
Who gives this woman? Yes, he's dealing with her as a daughter, and he has to see. It depends on how you're going to be treated. I could give you to her. You could say I don't find any pleasure in her. We have seen this happen, and we have seen men have women, and they have children, and don't want to take care of them. They want to mistreat them. And if he sees that, you have to show him that you're going to be committed to those children and that daughter because she's being treated, and that maid servant because she's being treated as a daughter.
That's right.
Okay, so let me go on. Let me keep going.
No, you can. I like it when you add your. I mean, I didn't marry a stupid woman on purpose.
See, this is protection. But what you do is what has happened is you take American slavery and you put it here. But it can't be transposed here because it doesn't belong here.
This is not even written anyway.
This is about working, and this is about working off a debt. That we had no debt to these people. They stole us. They robbed us. The ones who were here, you robbed them and took their minerals and took their land. The ones you brought, you stole them. You bought them. You sold them. And you cannot put this here. This is about a person who has become destitute. It's like somebody coming and saying, I don't have anything to eat or anywhere to live. Can I cut your grass every week until until I can sustain myself, and you give me something to eat and you give me a few dollars, at least where I can sustain myself
and have dignity.
and have some dignity because I'm working. I'm working. So anyway, let me.
No, I enjoyed that. I mean, read the next one. Let's move on to the, and we can remember now. Let's keep it in the vein that this is the solution to our problem, the black man problem, black Hebrew problem, black man problem, and when the black man take care of his problem, the same thing that will take care of our problem will take care of the American problem. But nobody, as a whole in the media that I hear of, that's doing all this marching is giving us a solution. I'm saying the solution is here all of the time. Read some more, Precious.
Let me
Please do.
Before I start again. The culture we have is death. It's a culture of death. It's a cult of death. When you have the music telling you that it's good to do a drive-by, that I rode down the street, I'm riding down the street, drinking gin and juice, smoking weed. This is a culture of death. When you see them coming around and your women are whores, and they all type of bees with itches, and they all of these things, and they're hanging out in the club, and you're having sex in the club, and you're having a menage
in the club,
and you're doing, and
in
this
the club.
Is the culture you have. You have a culture where you're walking around with your bottom hanging out, outside of your pants, and you holding your pants at the bottom, and you walking like this, as if something is something is tickling you. That's something you would see somebody who had mental retardation would do, and you say somebody need to see about that person. Somebody need to see about that boy. But this is the culture we've been given. This is the American culture that has been given to the black men and women. And these are your children, America. These are your children. You say they're going out and they're killing each other. You putting guns in their neighborhood.
Tell about what you learned in Chicago, so that people know when you say they putting guns in the neighborhood, that is for real.
They actually planted guns, and they actually admitted it. They planted Nike trucks in the neighborhood because they want to set people up to steal from the trucks, from the what do you call it? The
railroad box cars.
The box cars. And so you see, it's a setup. See, everything you do and everything you promote is going to lead me and my people to death. The music you put on, it doesn't promote family. It promotes our black men hanging out on a corner, going to a club, going to the strip club, everything. And this is the music you put on. A bunch of cursing, just nothing that's any good. Nothing about any kind of consciousness about who you are. It's just about, this is the road we want to take you down, and this is the way we do it. We do it with the television show Empire. You're good for nothing but singing and dancing and running a ball or bouncing a ball. You're good for that. But anything else, you're not good. You're no good for.
Didn't Daniels, the man that did the Empire thing, said, I want to remove the homosexual taboo from black people?
He was going to change that, and that's the reason why he set it up. So these people are watching. These are our people, but this is the culture that they're giving us, and this is what we want instead of this. This is a culture of death.
It is.
Of destruction.
Those that hate me, Proverbs say about wisdom,
love death.
That's right. And then the Bible talk about the people make a covenant with death in Isaiah.
And you start learning that the same people that have an interest in the record industry have the interest in the film industry, have an interest in the prison
got industry. Stock in it.
Yes, and you start seeing that we need customers. We don't see it. We don't see it that this is how they get customers. They need the prisons filled. It's a business. You're a business. They're not in a business of removing crime and we want everybody to be safe. No, we want slave labor. So we keep leading you that way. We keep putting this in your neighborhood. We keep saying we're not. You can't work here. No, you can't have this job. No, you can't do this. You're not qualified. No, you've been in jail. You can't have a job. Well, it's gonna lead me back to jail.
Listen to this right here. Private prison. I'm reading. I just typed in Google while you was talking. I just typed in these 5 words: sued state for unfilled prison. And so, guess what comes up? Private prison sues state for not having enough prison. This is come from wonderaggressive.com. Private prison sued. Okay, a private prison in Arizona recently sued the state for a lack of prisoners for the sake of when the beds are there, you don't want to leave them empty. You know, and I mean, I could go on and read the article because I've read a lot of these articles before. This one right here said a private prison in Arizona recently sued the state for a lack of prisoners for the sake of saving over 16 million in back pay. Again, for the sake of saving over 16 million in back pay, the state settled by paying the private prison 3 million. Arizona essentially paid a company 3 million because not enough people were committing crimes. To be fair, it's a little more complex than that. In July 2010, 3 violent inmates escaped from an Arizona prison, which prompted the officials to stop sending new inmates to the facility. And that's not the only one. There are so many of them. And what president has done anything about that, Andrina? Well, let's don't even call his name. What did he do about it? What did he say about it that what was not being said before? You got to do something about this prison. You're going to hire these people.
He did. He said when they get out, he said, I know I've talked to these people. I've talked to some of them. When they get out, you are going to hire them. They need jobs. He said it's going so well that some of these companies are wanting to come inside of the prison and train them before if it's coming near to the date that they're going to be getting out. They want to start specializing and training them to especially do certain jobs. So when they get out, they can walk into a job. They have a job when they get out.
But you have every time you turn around, CNN, MSNBC, the black congressional leaders that usually vote to do everything against us. And God knows I'm not a Republican.
No.
Not even close to it.
No.
But when President Trump did that, he can't get credit for doing something right. I'm not going to bear false witness. They were destroying lives, separating people from their families, and now they're going to sell the pot and make the money. Like in Colorado. Yes, they are. And guess what? Do you remember it used to be that a person could get more time for a little bit of crack than somebody did with cocaine?
Yes.
And that's good, Andrina. I just want this thing to be shown. What in the world are we going to do for a solution? Let's go to verse number 10.
Okay. If he take him another wife, her food.
I saw you skip the italics. You go on, girl.
Her raiment and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. And if he do not these 3 unto her, then shall she go out free without money.
So I'm not condoning. I'm not even telling you to get another wife. But it's already happened before Lamech did it. You go back to Genesis, ye wives of Lamech, and I killed a young man for this and another one for such and such. If he do it, I'm going to put a restriction on what he can do. You're not going to just treat her like a dog. I'm building a culture to protect my women. This is why I'm able to tell people when we leave the word of God, we leave our protection. Read number 10. This is going to be so pretty. It is. I mean 11.
Okay.
11 is the pretty one.
These 3 unto her, then she shall go out free without money. You want to explain?
I mean 12. Go ahead. Now what?
When it says free without money. Apparently, going back to verse number 7, the father a father owed money to someone. Now, if you watch, there's a movie, um, Jeremiah. There's a movie in this. It's about the prophet Jeremiah, and what's his name? Patrick Dempsey.
Is that the one that's got Krishna?
No,
No, I'm thinking.
that's Esther.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
But Patrick Dempsey is in the movie, and so when you in the movie, he has you. They're showing Jeremiah, and they using what they call creative license. But Jeremiah likes this girl, and so her father is in trouble because he owed money and he didn't pay it back. So something happened with his crop or something that he was expecting to come in and he couldn't pay. So they ordered for his daughter, for him to go and to work, and he was old. So his daughter said, "No, I'll go." So it's not really selling; it's that she is going to work off his debt. But what happened in the movie, it shows that the man that he owed the money to, he liked the daughter. So he said, "Well, I'll take her to be my wife." But she's like, she didn't want to do that. She just wanted to, work, pay off the debt.
Right.
But you get a clear vision of what it was like. That if you owed, they expected you to come where they say, and you have to come and work it off. You have to come and serve me and serve under me until you pay me off. Amen. And so you see what happened with Jacob. You see it in a way with Jacob, that he wanted a wife and he had to pay for her, which was Rachel. And he said, "I'll work for you for 7 years for her."
I will.
So you get to see that that's the culture. And it wasn't about selling somebody. It said you don't sell your daughter to be a whore. So this is not what's happening right here.
You're not pimping.
You're not pimping your daughter out, okay? But it's like if you're old or you have, other family members and you doing other things, and you say, she can go and work. She can go cook for you. She can be your maid. What they said a maid service.
And you don't send her out like you do the men.
Right. So if you do this and you betroth her and you say, "Oh, I want her," and then you don't find any pleasure in it. Well, I thought I wanted her like Amnon did Tamar.
Sorry, dog.
And he raped her, but and then I don't find any pleasure in you. Or you take somebody else and they say, "But if all these things happen, if you let her go and the debt is paid," that's without money.
That's right.
She gets to go out without money. You don't have to get paid. You don't get paid now.
You don't
what
need
was owed to you.
You didn't need me on that. The closest illustration I could think of that is where that old woman, she and her son were going to be sold.
Yes,
they're going to send him to pay her debt.
Right.
Yeah. Let's move to the next verse, because that's really what I really wanted. 12. I don't know how I got my numbers messed up. Go ahead.
"He that smiteth a man so that he die shall be surely put to death."
This is a beautiful culture. I don't care if it was George Washington. I don't care if it was Boogaloo. If you kill a man, put his sorry tail to death. Now, what Moses is doing, he's not coming up with something new. God is not coming up with something new. Huh? I'm looking at, I went to Genesis 8 and 6, but I think you're right. It's going to be 9 because it can't be 8. That's where the dove is. 9 and 6. Yep. What did it say?
"Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed."
Why?
"For in the image of God made he man."
So it's not just because you took a life. That's not what God said. It's not just because you took a life. You have killed God in effigy. You might as well have made a little dummy that you call God and killed it. And God, I resent you trying to kill me in effigy. What?
Does Gary have anything you want to say?
I don't know why he don't talk.
Did you put his mute on?
No, I think he did his own mute. I gave him powers. I'm just gonna. He might have just.
Anybody on Facebook?
Gary, did you go to sleep?
You want to add or say or ask a question about or?
I don't. Nobody seemed like it. Just seemed like it's us, and it's like I want to see.
Did they hang up?
No, okay. Gary didn't. Let me say a moment. No, he has the powers.
Okay. All right. So let's continue.
Okay, let's continue with what we're talking about. Because I really was just gonna do round table, but if they're gonna make me teach, they can bust in when they get ready. And anybody on the conference line, not on the conference line, but on the Facebook, uh, I'm looking. If you notice, I got my little phone right here. I'm looking to see if I see any comments, and if I don't see any comments, if you say, okay, I want to voice my comments, then just while you're on the Facebook, you can dial that number that Ann has up on the screen. Well, it's not up there now, but it's no, I don't see it. It is when I slide the comments.
Okay.
I don't see it. You dial that number on the screen, you can. But see, you're killing God in effigy, and that's why when they deal with abortion, you're killing God in effigy. You don't say that the image of God is will, emotion, and all of that. No, because if a person is born retarded, you say he don't have the image of God. You're saying he's potential. The image of God is that you have the ability to have that dominion mandate that God has, and therefore, whether you can fully function in it or not, you are still an imager of the Most High God. So when you kill a man, that is high crime against God. That is, it's almost like you're trying to do regicide. That's where you kill a king. You're also trying to kill God. I don't know I don't know if you call that theocide, but you're trying to kill God in effigy. So you go ride by gangbang shooting. You're doing all of this. And when you go and make unjust wars, when you hung black men from trees, you did that to the image of God. Then you got this woman that lied on Emmett Till come out 2 or 3 years ago and say that it didn't happen. But yet you allowed him to be put to death. The Bible's going to show us tonight you should be put to death. Go ahead, Andrina. Let's do some more of this Swedish stuff.
If a man lie not, this is verse 13. And if a man lie not in wait, but God deliver into his hand, then I will appoint thee a place whither he shall flee.
In other words, if you kill a man by accident, you got the death penalty still on you. But I'm going to allow you a place where you can flee and you can have a trial. It can be proven that you didn't do it on purpose. You're still under the death penalty. The death penalty, listen to what Ann read before. Whoso, this is Genesis chapter 9 verse 6. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man, not God, his blood shall be shed, for he is in the image of God. And this is the big deal when we talk about the Christ, is because that is what is called the avenger of blood. Whenever you kill somebody, the avenger of blood would come back, and they would be the one that would put you to death for what you did to the family member. So the avenger of blood would be stayed from killing you because of the fact what has happened is that you will be saved because you're there and it was accidental. Let me read one more verse in Genesis 9 and 5. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it. If an animal kill a man, I require his blood. And at the hand of man, and at the hand, look, of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Family meant something. I'm building a culture. You don't just go kill my family. You don't just go kill my brother. But if I get to kill you before you get to the city of refuge, you're just dead. You deserved it. If we go to trial and it was proven that you didn't do it on purpose, if you don't stay in your safe place and you come around that family and they got to see you the one that killed their family member, you can still be put to death. But your animal, if it does it, put to death. Read on, Precious. You're on verse number 14, I believe. Okay.
But if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, thou shalt take him from mine altar, that he may die.
See, that's what happened with Joab. When anybody know anything about David and Joab, Joab went and grabbed the horns of the altar, and I ain't gonna go out there and Saul gonna kill me, and now he ain't gonna come kill me. I'm gonna grab the horns of the altar. God said, get him away from my religious altar.
That's in 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 28.
That's what you were looking up. You, my friend, read it, Precious.
Then tidings came to Joab, For Joab had turned after Adonijah, though he turned not after Absalom.
That means David's son Absalom wanted to take the kingdom from him. Joab didn't hook up with Absalom. He stayed with David. But now Adonijah wanted to take the throne, and Joab leave David, and he gonna hook up with Adonijah. Read on.
And Joab fled into the tabernacle of Yahweh, and caught hold on the horns of the altar. And it was told King Solomon that Joab was fled unto the tabernacle of Yahweh, and behold, he is by the altar. Then Solomon sent Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, saying, Go, fall upon it.
Kill him. That's what fall mean. It don't mean like you stumbling like the Dick Van Dyke on the Dick Van Dyke show. No, slaughter him. And so this is what he is saying over here in verse 14. If a man if he come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, take him from my altar. Don't let his filthy, dirty, wretched hands be on my altar. He's a murderer. Take him from my altar that he may die. Take these slave owners that you all hold up as being great in America, that kill people, that send people to war that they shouldn't be sent to, that have had people that are locked up, just like the people they love Mueller so much, that were doing stuff with Trump and Andrew Wiseman and the different people he has caused to die, and different things that they did that they knew with the gangsters that they don't know nothing about because CNBC and the rest of them won't tell it. But these men that do wicked things, they're not righteous. When preachers do it, they're not righteous. When they do stuff, get them away from God's altar and give them judgment. That's the culture that God wants. Read, precious love.
And he that smiteth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death.
Then you will never go and be hitting on your father and mother like they do. Like I see little children do that. I see it a lot in the white community. They hit their parents and push their parents. I'd have tried that with Billy. I'd have been skint. Okay? Not only was my daddy big and strong, but he carried 2 or 3 knives, and they were sharp. He used to take that little rock and do it with his knife, like that, and the knife would be so sharp he wouldn't stop till it shaved. And he could pull that knife out of his pocket, and it would be open just as easy as I could pull one out to open it. Never heard of him cutting anybody, but I don't know why he knew how to do all of that. But I wouldn't have stood a chance. But it said if you strike father or mother, I'm not saying black people don't do it, because I know on Simpson Road, back in the 80s, this guy used to hit his mama. And one day she blew him to hell where he needed to go, and I was proud of her. Why? He shouldn't have been hitting her to start with. And Jesus reiterates that. He says that in the 15th chapter of Matthew. He says, whosoever, curse, I think it's just curse, because you can curse him, put him to death. Read some more, please.
And he that stealeth a man.
America, Catholic Church, the Jewish people that had the ships that they used to sell, and the black people across the world to do that, the people that bought the slaves. I don't care if you were black and you brought a stolen man. I don't care. Islam, the same thing. What does God's culture say? What does it say? And he that what?
That stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death.
That's why I say George Washington should have been put to death. That's why I say Thomas Jefferson should have been put to death. That's why I say Thomas Paine, because they not only were found in their hand, they were making money off of them. And you all come on over here from Europe. We got something for you. You can get over here and you can get paid. Now somebody say, Tim, that's the Old Testament. So is 1 Timothy 1 and 10 in the Old Testament? Where it talks about, verse number 8, before I get to 10, say the law is good if a man use it lawfully, knowing this, that the law is not made for the righteous man. See, all these things don't come on a righteous man. The stealing and all of that. But it says it's not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless. And it said
and disobedient.
I skipped. I think, did I say lawfully? I think I missed it if I did.
Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers.
Smite father or mother, the law is still made for you, dude. Next.
For manslayer.
You go kill a man. Look, all of this is coming from God. You gonna tell me that no sin is different? And yet he said, put you to death for this. Read some more.
For whoremongers.
Whoremongers. Whoredom. Read.
For them that defile themselves with mankind.
That is arsenokoitis. That means homosexual activity. And I'm not going to compromise God's word. I don't care what. Look, first commandment says, I'll have no other God. You're not going to take the place of God for me. Now, smoke that. Next word.
For men stealers.
Men stealers. That's the point I was bringing in right there. Same thing. He that stealeth a man. Paul said, this is the culture that God wants. That's the culture where I want to live. And they steal us when they put us in prison and we're not worthy to be there either. That's men stealing too.
Yes,
and then you're putting them there because you don't want to get sued because you got a lot of empty beds in the prisons.
And we're not by any means saying that black people are the most innocent people on the planet. We're not saying that.
No. But you did help. You did do stuff to help
you
foment.
created a culture. This is the culture you gave us. When it was before and they had rap, or it was what they call consciousness, and they would talk about really. They was like, we're not gonna do benign neglect. We're gonna talk about what's really going on with our men being locked up and our families being divided. We're going to talk about what we were and the things we did as a culture, what we brought to this nation. And they say, oh, no, you're not going to do that. We're going to buy up these companies and we're going to give you a culture. And now you got Beyonce with her bottom out, wiggling, where her mama made suits for them. And you would think, whose mother would make something like that for their daughter child to prance around the stage and shake her bottom
like the cheerleaders?
You're selling your daughter to be a whore, and you're doing this so you can make the money, you can make the profits, you can live lavishly. And this is the culture you gave us. So you have tiny little girls talking about they want to be Nicki Minaj. How? Singing the songs, and it's like, this is the culture you've given us, and we've accepted, and we've embraced it, and we love it, and we hate the truth now. They gave you a culture that hates the truth, to do benign neglect. Don't ever talk about the real problem. We'll set the agenda for you. So what is it this time? What am I supposed to be outraged about now? That you can go and say, well, we're going to send our children to Washington, D.C. for gun violence and gun control.
And my name is David Hall.
And I heard a man say that in Baltimore, they were sending 3,000 children to D.C. to do that march where they talking about gun control, okay? Where they're going to put the children out there. See, this is the stuff they do. You're going to put the children out there. Baltimore is sending 3,000 children to D.C. That costs. I've been to D.C. That costs.
Why not give them a trade school?
But let me tell you. But Baltimore, the year before, didn't even have heat. They weren't even heating their classrooms. They were complaining about not having heat.
You know.
But you can take, for your agenda, you can take the money and send 3,000 children.
And you know this president will say it. And that is going to be racist too, right? But here's the other thing that I would like to just bring. You told me there was a woman named Lauren Hill that was saying, and she would, and that she would tell that kind of truth that you're talking about.
And she would. She would go back and talk about Ethiopia and Lalibela. I think that's how you say it. Anyway, the churches there and the things that they stood for and who we supposed to be as a people. And that you get these European hairdos and these weaves, and you did get fake nails done by Koreans. And she's saying you need to pay attention to what you're doing. You've lost yourself. You've taken on everybody else's identity while somebody else is playing you. And they getting your benefits and playing your part, and you buying and selling yourself to these other nations. And they come in and they make merchandise of you.
And they do it in the religious world. They took the book that was given to Hebrew people that were not white, and they make billions. God, I got over $100,000 worth of books myself. Over $100,000 worth of books. I got more books in here than my wife want me to have. Like, I can't have my house for your books. And I don't want you to get rid of them and just use your computer books, because one day they're probably going to wipe it. They're going to wipe it where you can't have it. What? But they made money. There's a book right there. New evidence that demands a verdict. I don't know how much money that Josh McDowell's made off of evidence that demands a verdict. 1 and 2, where man get to judge based on the evidence what is right, as opposed to God being right, and then you determine from what God is right, and then you look and see what the evidence say, not the other way around. You never get to be the judgment. Guys, this is systematic theology. Voltaire, the age of Voltaire, Will Durant, Life and Character, all of this stuff, and they've made money off of this. They make these big old churches off of our book, off of our gospel, off of what's in here, and nobody's teaching this. Mostly, that's got the money. Think about it. Do you find this in the Catholic Church? This is how you live. Not when you can put a little thing on.
The Catholic Church have their book. They call it a catechism.
I got it. I believe I own that too.
All of their catechism. That's their book. That is their law. It is not this book. They know this book is not theirs. They know that this is an Afro-Asiatic book.
And that's what they know. You can look up the word Hebrew and it will say Afro-Asiatic language, not Indo-Asiatic, not Indo-Euro.
Everybody, when you talked about the Mormons, they have their own book. They know it's not this.
That's my little double book over there.
Yeah.
And the Pearl of Great Price.
They have their own book.
Did you know I bought that book the other day from about wasn't it the 1700s, that Mormon book, or the 1800s? Because the new one they changed
things out.
Yeah, I went to eBay and bought one. But go ahead.
But they have their own book. When you say, well, this is the book of those Israeli people over there. No, it's not.
No.
They have the Mishnah. They have the Babylonian Talmud.
And I own those too. Yeah.
They have their own book because they know this is not their book.
And it's not equal because I own it, that gummit. Because I thought I was going to get wise because I didn't know any better then. I was like, oh, I'm going to learn this. And I get to read R, they said R for Rabbi, R Eliezer said this, and R so-and-so said this, and R Shimon said this, and R so, and it's like back and forth, and just like dudes on the street. Michael Jordan must have been, no, LeBron James would have been, no, not LeBron James, Kobe Bryant would have, no, it was Jerry West, no, it's the same kind of stuff, and like, it irritates me.
You think they say, oh, well, you know, we only go by the first 5 books. Why? Because you were taught a religion, and you were taught a religion. So none of the history matters to you. It matters not because you know it's not you. You have your own history. You learned a religion from this book. You learn this culture. You say, I'm gonna mimic this culture, but I'm gonna keep my own laws. They don't go by the laws of the first 5 books. They just say, oh, that was our platform. We started from that. That was our jump off point. That was our springboard. And then we have our other books. And then we have our own history. They know this is not their history. That's why they don't want the kings. What they want the chronicles for? It's not a chronicle of where their kings and their dukes or whatever they had come from.
No, not Claudius, not Trajan, not Gaius Caligula, not all those guys that went up there where you get to the emperor, and Emperor Constantine begins to be over the church. They don't want it.
And we need to think about these things. When somebody take a book and then they take this book and they say, well, you know, you need this go with it. No, it doesn't. That's your book. This is our book.
We used to have one in the church I grew up with, a little brown book, and they call it a policy manual. That's not the black one. The black one was what they call a discipline. It's the same kind of little book that I got from the Jehovah's Witness that they have called Reasoning from the Scriptures. Then they had this other book called the policy manual. It got all these loose pages in it. It's the same thing like whenever I look and I see they got missalettes in the Catholic Church, and then they got the Pearl of Great Price that goes with everybody got a book.
But see, we supposed to just have this one, and we don't want it. We won't read it. We won't do what it say. Even a little bit we do read.
And we need
We
to get
don't
a
have a
culture.
culture. We don't have a foundation. And we're being tossed to and fro. Whatever wind comes in, whatever's trending, we going with that. They set our agenda. They make laws, and we never say, that's no, we're not going along with that.
And that's why we
We
play
have
fool.
absolutely no identity, but we do have one. But we won't embrace the judgments of it. We won't embrace the culture. We won't create communities according to that, because every church should be a community where these things ought to be done at least.
You telling the truth. I just looked on here and I see in my library I can get Catechism of the Catholic Church. Anyway, because it's like I'd like to have the books of people. They were like, that ain't what we teach. Yes, so you telling a lie.
And then every time I'm reading, I was listening to a video, and I would. There's a video on Amazon. If anybody has Amazon Prime, it's called "Is the Bible Reliable?" I think that's the name of it.
Okay.
But he's going through and he's showing you how they took the Bible, and when I say they, I'm going to say mainly Germans. Okay, he talked about well housing and how they want to dissect and pick apart this book and say that it's not reliable. Don't you count on it. You can't believe anything in it. And so, what are you going to give me? If you're going to say I can't depend on this, then I'm going to also let you tell me what to depend on.
Right.
If I'm going to take it that far and I'm going to let you tell me that this book is no good, then I'm going to let you tell me what is good. I've allowed you to become my authority.
And that's the problem. You're having now another God before you. Are you able to take the phone number and make it cover the whole screen to put the phone number of the
conference line?
Yeah, you're able to do that.
Yeah.
Because I'd like that to just sit there for a minute while we talk.
Okay.
Now let's go back to that. I do have a Catechism of the Council of Trent, so I'm good. I'm good on that. I don't need to buy, because the Council of Trent, that's where the truth comes out. That Trent, but people that don't know anything about the Council of Trent, they have no idea why the Catholic Church do, and they can get away with stuff like the scapular that I talk about. Just a little square. It fits on a little chain or on a piece of leather string, and you have one part that fit on the back of you, one part fit on your chest.
I wish I could have a picture. Can you send me a picture?
I can send you a picture, but I need you to cover my screen for a minute. I'm gonna go to the restroom.
Okay.
That's why I was trying to get you to do that, but you made me tell you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's all right. I get over it. You know, people don't think that old men have to go to the bathroom. They don't know any better.
Gary, can you help me?
He didn't say laugh. You still ain't blocked it.
I've been enjoying the conversation and talking about the various books that people have and so forth. It's that people don't want to look into the Word of God and be governed by it. And I was listening to you all talk about the books that everybody else has, and Kim started talking about the books. I think he forgot about the discipline. The churches of God holding. You were talking about the policy manual, and the sad thing is I heard you say the part that we read. A lot of times we don't even follow it, and that's because we're often so steeped in self, and we better learn that self is going to send us to hell, and that we have to have a new heart, a new mind. You know, I was thinking that we might talk about Jeremiah, so I was just kind of reviewing some of that. But even though this is I don't think this is in Jeremiah, it's in Ezekiel. But as you all talking, and you were saying that you're given death, a culture of death. That just like stood out very loud to me. And I was just thinking of in the scripture when God asked Ezekiel, he said, "Can these bones live?" So when you look at the solution is really to Peter said, "Where are we going to go? Only you have the words of life, and my words of spirit in their life." And I culture is really, as you all were just saying, Afro-Asiatic. I wonder how many people, if they knew that the Christ was dark skinned, would they just let it go?
Mm.
And how many black people, if they felt like he was black, they would still take it and misrepresent it.
That's right.
Or he's a dark man, he's a black man, and we better be looking at what his words say.
Yeah.
LA.
What does his words say? Because it's the only thing that's going to last. I know the Bible says it reproves the world of sin. The Spirit, the Holy Ghost, and Christ, it reproves the world of sin. And that's the main thing, you know, when you're talking about. I was listening. I feel like if I'm going to, like if I feel like I'm rambling, you all just have a natural flow. And I'm like, well, I'll listen. I'm good at being a student. I thought you knew that. But I'm listening and I'm just thinking it's really sad, but we have to make the sacrifice. One of you always saying something about it. What's the night? Friday. I think the last night, the sacrifice. And I was thinking Romans 12, but I think you were coming out of Corinthians or something, but I don't remember exactly. This is a sacrificial way.
Mm-hmm.
And when they want to give us death in the music, want to give us death in the school, they want to give us death on the television. And, you know, I watched that video, and then I went on to actually watch some other stuff about some slavery. And you're right when you say we don't have anything else. So when you ask what is the solution, I think I had a simplistic answer. And I was like, we better hold on to the Word of God, but that doesn't make I don't know for much conversation. So I said, well, I'm gonna listen because I don't think what I said was wrong, but I definitely know what you all were saying. I don't think that was wrong either. But holding on to the Word of God, I guess you said, are there any questions? I didn't know how to formulate, and I think I'm still wondering. You said something about a month or two ago that they took our Bible and they took parts out of it, and we only gave part of it. So when you say they gave us Christianity, you kind of went into how they painted slavery. I don't know if you can make that a little more concrete, because sometimes I think because you read so much and you all discuss so much, when you say things, I think there's almost, okay, well, people will get it. Well, I don't think they'll always get it. So if you can kind of bring that in maybe a little bit, and I guess go back to where you were with the solution and stuff. That would be a question that I have.
Andrina, if Andrina, would you take the Toshiba and go into and just type in the Slave Bible? Because if I play it through this one, it won't play through on the they won't be able to hear it.
So your question, Gary, is about Christianity?
How they took our Bible and gave us something.
Right, because you said they gave us a Christianity, so in some sense, I don't know if somebody listens, okay, well, if they gave us Christianity and we still talking about Christianity, other than the fact that they painted slavery as biblical and that's wrong, what else is there? So I remember you saying that they took part, and I went online and I looked at a little bit, but I didn't go into like a full research of it. But you said they took parts of the Bible out, so if you can talk to that and kind of.
I'm going to read what I have here, but there's some little excerpts that are about a minute long that she may be able to play. But listen to what CBN. This is Pat Robinson's channel, and it says CBNnews.com. The shocking slave Bible. Here are parts that were deleted to manipulate the slaves. For centuries, the Bible has been used to spread the message of the freedom of Christ. But at some point, it was used for a much darker purpose. In Washington, D.C.'s Museum of the Bible, a copy of the so-called Slave Bible sits on display. This Bible was used by slave masters in the early 1800s. It's quite different from the one in pews today. The biggest thing is what is missing. The typical King James Bible has 66 books. You're going to have to pause. You're going to have to mute your phone T get ready to talk again.
Okay.
The typical King James Bible has 66 books. This one contains in the Old Testament all of the parts of about 14 books. Okay, 39 is supposed to be there. 39 in what we call the Old, 27 in the New. That's excluding all the Apocrypha and everything else, okay? Explains Anthony Schmidt, PhD, Associate Curator of the Bible and Religion in America. Bibles like this, along with catechisms, were used to push a specific message to enslaved people. It starts off with the creation story, then it jumps into Joseph getting sold into slavery. Did you get that? Joseph being sold into slavery by his brother, and how it ends up being a good thing for him. Schmidt told CBN News. We skip over the Israelites in slavery in Egypt being let out. Do you hear me? Other references of freedom were also omitted. They are highlighting the themes of being submissive. The same thing goes on in the New Testament as well. The whole book of the Revelation is left out. So there is no new kingdom, no new world, nothing to look forward to, Schmidt explains. And then there has an artifact of the day, parts of the Holy Bible selected for the use in for the Negro slaves, aka Slave Bible, 1808, though called holy, is deeply manipulative. Based on the King James, it omits all entries that express themes of freedom. You do know that even if it costs me $300, Tim Merritt gonna have one, don't you? It said the abolitionist movement was the beginning to make waves on both sides of the Atlantic, said Smith. One way slave owners could combat the pressure from abolitionists were to tell them that they were good Christians that taught their slaves about God. Did you hear this? These damnable creatures from the European lagoon that got slaves from the fabulous creatures from Islam and from the Portuguese and the Spaniards. Damnable fools that should have been put to death. One way slave owners could combat the pressure from abolitionists were to tell them that they were good Christians, that they taught their slaves about God. Despite the heavy redaction, the gospel message would not be contained. Smith says that the truth of God's word made its way onto the plantation from visiting preachers and educated slaves. More and more denominations made a concerted effort to go in and preach on plantations, said Smith. These missionaries, often Baptist Methodist ministers, fueled the abolitionist movement. God's word was also spread through song, through oral tradition. You might have a person who couldn't read, but heard the scripture. This was kept alive through stories and spirituals, said Smith. Many of the songs or spirituals are still sung in churches today. Now that's CBN telling you that. What you got over there, precious love? Was mine good enough, Gary? Open back up, Gary. Come on.
Yes, I did. I had to pull that little bar down.
So can you see? Can you see when I say they gave them Christianity? When they gave them a Bible? That when you skip from Genesis, the creation, to Joseph, you leave out all of the table of nations. You leave out where Abraham came from. You leave out where Isaac came from. You leave out all of that beautiful stuff about Egypt. They don't get to know that, wait a minute. It was black people. We don't want you to know that. And so you got another form of Christian that don't like it with abolitionists. Like I told you, there's some white people that stood up, but it's white people doing it. And that's why when I tell you this, they gave you Christmas.
Yes.
They gave you Easter ham and Christmas ham. They didn't give you kumbaya because they don't want you to know anything about Hebrew language. And if they did nothing wrong, they still didn't want you to know anything about the Hebrew language.
They stripped them of that, and they say, well, they were like children. They couldn't read. We couldn't read English.
Couldn't read your language, fool. We had a better
And
language.
you didn't give us a God. We already came with one. You was trying to say we were savages. We were not savages. Because if we were, you wouldn't have done it.
You couldn't have trained us.
You wouldn't have.
You wouldn't have took that black woman's nipple and put it in your child's mouth. A savage.
It wouldn't have happened.
You don't even do the cows. Think about it. And you drink their milk. Lying, the truth ain't in you.
What it says in Daniel. You took the best people. The people who had culture. Who knew their God. Who understood. Who were refined. Why would you want savages cooking your food? Because they were not savages.
Thank you. And building your stuff. They already knew how to build. You took a savage that can't understand your language. Come on.
You didn't beat us because we were savages. You beat us because we didn't want to do it. We didn't want to work for you. You didn't beat us because we were savages. We're not doing it. We're saying no. And so I was listening to, what was I listening to? Well, they was talking about some man would beat one. They put him on trial. It was a documentary I saw about the British slavery. It's on something called Timeline. I think that's where I saw it. I was watching it, and they're talking about slavery in Britain, and they were saying that this one man this one guy sold these slaves to him and said they're good people, and he said they're good. They work well. They keep everything clean. They got a different mindset. They do certain things, and they just had let them have some freedom. Well, he took them.
Is it that clause, dude?
Huh?
Was he a black man that bought him?
This were two white men. This is the British slave trade. He bought them, and he beat them so badly. He killed a lot of them. And he wrote back to the man and said, I thought you say they were good. I thought they tried to leave. They tried to escape. They said he gave somebody 200 lashes. Say they had to switch. Say their arms were getting tired. They had to alternate between the masters to whip these people. The woman, they killed her. It killed her. She died. The man died maybe, from his injuries, maybe a week or two later. But he was like, and he wrote back to him and said, like, you gave me some defective property. And what are you going to do about it? And so you're treating these people as if somebody sold you a bad horse. And you say this horse, he's going to be able to carry this hay across here. He'll just put it on him. He'll drag it. And you call a person back and say, you gave me a bad horse. Well, you got 10 bales of hay stacked on top of the horse, and he pulling 10. And you saying you sold me a bad horse. And he's like, I don't understand. They didn't do that. What happened? And he said, well, they dead now. And it was just that simple. And people wanted to bring him up on charges for killing him. That you killed him. It was still like the word got out that he beat them so badly that they died. They wanted to bring him up on charges, but they said no. It was his property.
It's the same kind of thing like in that Huckleberry Finn book when they were talking about they were on the ship and the motor blew out and killed some people, and they said, well, what happened? The motor blew out. Well, did anybody get hurt? No. A couple of slaves, they got killed, but that's all. Nobody got hurt.
Are you leaving with your children? They taking care of your children. You knew who you were getting. You knew the people that were here. They were not savages, and you knew because they helped take care of you.
Well, the women weren't savages because they sure enough took them.
Well, they have sex with animals and stuff. I mean, they have sex with animals now. It's widespread. I know one white guy got killed having sex with a horse. I mean, they do stuff like that. One guy was in Florida. They made it where he can no longer have a dog because he raped his dog so much. And then I'm reading where a woman say it's better, how good it is to have sex with a dog, and they do stuff like that. I'm not saying no black people ever do it, but I don't see them bragging about it and that they're promoting that kind of stuff. And no, and somebody better not tell me that it ain't in there because all they got to do is talk. I mean, it is Google it, and you don't have to Google for the images. You can just look at the headline of the stories that they doing. That they have animal farms for that, Andrina. They have animal farms for people to do that, and that's what they used to do to the black people. Now,
and they came over here and they took care of you all.
yes,
They helped you survive. They taught you what to do.
and you call the Indians, and you made it where they weren't
and
black, so we could savage
you
them.
just call them. You just mix it. We're gonna classify you the way we want to classify you, and we're gonna. This is the way we take things because we do it on paper. We do it by laws. We do it by treaties, and we don't ever keep any of the treaties we make. But we'll do it that way, and we'll do it on paper. We'll steal from you, and we'll say that we got all of you all from Africa. And y'all, when none of y'all here, and that's a lie. That's how you were able to come. That's how you were able to live. And it wasn't just those Sioux Indians you talk about. You had Creek Indians. These are black people. They call them, some of them call themselves what they Blackfoot Indians.
Yep, like our grandmother, Doris Merritt, Jane was telling us that she was what they call a Blackfoot Indian. And God knows what you saw when you went through the Trail of Tears.
Yeah, so it was like you act like we weren't here and we didn't help you, and you stole from us. You turned on us. You stole from us. You brought some more of our relatives over here that you stole, and you mistreated us. And it's because you knew who we were.
Yes, and God's going to get you. And I'm very happy when he brings his wrath down on the ungodly, ungodly people that did this to black people and took our land, took our freedom, raped our women, raped our children, and gave us a form of Christianity that like I grew up in a church where they got this white dude leaning over a stone that's supposed to be Gethsemane. When did people that come from that look, I do work in a church. In this big church, they got issues they had to deal with. They got all these stained windows and everybody white. But no, you cannot bibliocentrically, anthropologically, geographically, you cannot philologically show me that these people that are black are not Hebrew. And you don't want me to say it because it's not culturally correct. But I will tell you now, Google Hebrew language, it will say Afro-Asiatic. Now, what's the big point? The big point is we've been lied to so much to kill us. But let's go back to our solution. That was just to answer Gary's question. Gary, did that answer your question why I say what I say?
I already knew why you said what you said. I wanted it to be explained in a little more concrete way for the sake of this discussion.
Oh, Gary, when I listen to guys that have spent I would say the last 20 years doing it, digging up the old books, I get to cheat. I learned how to go and read in the Library of Congress because of people like him. I got to go and look at books that are hundreds and hundreds of years old because as of right now, you can still look at some of these books online. The time may come you may not be able to. But if a person just go look up, start with the doctrine of discovery and see how what happened after Columbus came from America, as we call it America, in 1492 when he got back, told them what he seen. The Catholic Church made the doctrine of discovery, and they split the world between the Spaniards and the Portuguese. And the Portuguese was working with the Islamic people, and they would come and they would take us and they would baptize the children, give them what is called Christian names, send them to Haiti, send them to the Caribbean islands, all of those islands, and then South America. Some of the Spain and the French would take people over there to Louisiana. They would, and the Spaniard would take them in certain parts of South America. That's why what we call Mexico now. And then they sent some of us over here to what they call America, separated them from their family. And if you didn't accept Christianity, often you were killed. If they did accept, they would let you wear their clothes, and you could get money. And what they did, they put them on the ships, and they separated and brought us over here to this country. And if we didn't like you, we'd dump you in the doggone sea. We had you tighter than sardines, urine on top of each other, feces. I was reading and say the ship smelled so bad that they could smell it a mile from the doggone seashore. It would smell so bad on the ship. That's what they did to us, and we survived. Yeah. How can we not say, if it had not been, like I taught last night, Psalm 124, if it had not been for the Lord on our side, what would we do? How? We wouldn't be here. They've done things to destroy us. That book right there, Medical Apartheid, all of the different experiments that have been done that's just documented. Not the ones that, when I see all these children, these black children being taken, you don't think I think experiments are being done? You don't think that they are putting these children out, selling them? They made a movie about trafficking with Liam Neeson. They got his daughter, and he went and got her. But what about all the other ones that were trafficked? And yet, when we come to the churches, this is the issue we don't even want to talk about. How? And the things that they did to they still doing stuff in Haiti, Gary. They still doing stuff in Haiti. Take the land, take the resources, make it. We're talking about the UN now. The UN have done these things. Take their oil. They make it like Haiti is poor. That's a damnable lie. If we own it, look, if you and I, as a group, as brothers, own the resources of Haiti, Jeff Bezos, they were like, Jeff ain't got nothing.
He'd be poor.
He'd be poor.
He's poor.
And they go and rape and sell the children. Take the children. And what has happened is, with the different things that are going on over there and the different things that they did with spiritism, you think they learned that from our white brothers? No, they learned stuff. They did stuff, and the Catholic Church would do stuff to bring problems. We had some young ladies in our assembly that would tell us stuff what the Catholic Church had taught them.
Yes.
And so what ends up happening is, when we don't love God's righteous laws, we don't have a solution. The UN is not going to help you. The UN used to be, I believe, what is called the League of Nations. Yeah. Wasn't set up to help black people. They don't, man, when has anybody ever cared about a black person? You don't care about them when they're in South Africa, take their land, lock up Mandela, say he was wrong if he wanted to fight. When you tell me the story, how am I supposed to believe you? You've been lying about other stuff. You took the land from the black people in Australia. Yeah, you did. You took the land from the black people, the Folsom people that were over here, and the people that came from Egypt over here. You think they got those pyramids that's exactly like the one that's in Cairo? Look, like, you want me to believe the most incredible things, and you're not practicing righteousness. And then when I say something about it, Tim, you talking about you trying to put us under the law. You always under the law, fool. Yeah. You're under the law of America, China, Belgium, France, whatever. But the law of God is to set you free. The law of Christ is to set you free from the law of sin and death. And so what ends up happening is, you got to understand there's a moral law, then there's what you call a ceremonial law, and the ceremonial law was to reinforce the moral law that God has set. But what is definitely, you can never go against God's law that Abraham had. That law which we had was before there was ever a Moses. You can never go against the law of the Melchizedekan priesthood. And I'm not talking about Mormons. I'm saying there's a lawgiver just like Melchizedek, who is the Christ, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. The scepter shall not depart from his feet, that's rulership, nor a lawgiver till Shiloh come. And unto him will the gathering of the people be. I did not know that we were Hebrew people, had no clue, used to argue with people because they couldn't prove it. Boy, when I got through getting my tail spanked, because I never really just thought they were white. But when I start seeing, you had stuff from me. All the inventions. Yes. All of the stuff.
They've recorded that they know.
And Drina, I got inventions, okay? I do service work. And it's like, if I had this right here and this right here, this would do this right here, and I wouldn't have to do that. When I used to lift weights and I was real strong, before I had all those wrecks, I could snatch up so much weight with one hand, or pick up a few 100 pounds, and like you can feel it, but it's like I can do it. I told my son when we first started working together, I said, you'll never impress me not long for something you can pick up that's real heavy. I mean, it might be impressive for a minute if one of them pick up 600 pounds and can take it 10 feet. You know, I'll watch them strain and do that, be impressive. But what would be more impressive if I see you take two sticks, or if I see you take a stick and a ball and you move that and you don't even do any effort. But that is impressive. Yeah. That is impressive. And I try to instill that in my son. Impress me with your mind, ingenuity. And so this is where we are. Gary, I'm glad you made me bring that up. Go ahead, Precious Love.
I was going to say, when you talk about Christianity, there is, again, a culture. And that culture is clearly defined in what days you celebrate. So you can read this book, and this book, they say it came from this book. But when I read this book, I do not find any of this culture that you're giving me in this book. So you tell me about a Christmas. Well, what you've done is you say, well, we're going to say that in this book, this person was born on this day, and then we're going to make this day that we should celebrate this day. When this book, this culture of this book never told you to do that. Never told you what day it was. Never told you when you should do it. Never say year by year do this. Never say year by year go and give gifts to people and put up a tree. And you did all of this. See, this was given to you. This is your cult of Christianity. And if I tell you that is wrong, you say, no, I'm still going to do it because it's a cult. That's how you're supposed to act when you're in a cult. You don't supposed to let anybody take you away from the falsehoods you believe in, and you've been doing it your whole life. You can't take that away from me. And then you give me Easter. Well, nobody told you that it was on this particular day. It never told you that it was supposed to be done this way, a sunrise service. Nobody ever told you. That's not in this book, but this group of people gave you this day, told you when to do it, told you to show up on it at the sunrise service, told you to come in prepared. And when we say, where you get it from? Well, it's not in there, but this is just what we do because the people like it. This is the only one time we can get them in church. The people, because it's a cult.
Chuck Smith told me that.
Yes.
Chuck Smith had 25,000 families. That I think during the time when I talked to him, he was over at Calvary Chapel, and I called him. I was working on Mom's house in Gainesville. They had a satellite, and you could call in and do question and answers. And I said, Chuck, help me understand. And I asked him about Christmas. He said, it's not in the Bible. Same thing about Easter. And he's the one gave that explanation that you just gave.
It's a cult. And so once I give you, these things were given to you, and it's to keep you out of this. As long as you don't look in here and compare what you're doing to what this says, we have you. So when we decide to add on Lent, because remember, you're just in a division of Christianity that wanted to reform.
That's a key word. Catholic. Reform. Martin Luther did not want to shut down the Catholicism, the Catholic Church. Right. He wanted to reform it. Johann Tetzel was, throw your money in the coffer when it cleans, when it rains, a soul from purgatory, it springs. And he was not trying to shut it down at all. He still was Catholic in his soul.
And you say that it's not a state religion, but why the children out of school, they stopped calling it Christmas holiday, and they just started to say, the holidays, or the winter break. And they stopped saying it, but it's still Christmas.
We're forced to pay for it.
Taking them, you say they can be out of school. You got all these sales going on, and it's great because it's cultural. You're in a cultural Christianity. It's a cult.
And we're forced to pay for it.
Yes. And so you get the same thing with Easter. And then when we're going to roll you back into the Catholic Church. So now we're going to start doing Lent. Yeah, where, we're going to make it up and say, it was 40 days they fast. And, you know, the ashes and all of that, and Ash Wednesday. Well, we may not be into Ash Wednesday yet, but we're gonna roll into all of
I've
it.
seen some black people doing Ash Wednesday this year. One of them is an elder in Church of Christ, and I'm pretty sure he's not the only one. But they do this. They are doing this folly. The Roman Catholic rape a child, pedophile, rape the women. Yes.
Into the Catholic Church, and
What the Pope
they
say?
telling you, and years ago they had what they call the evangelicals come together, and Pope Francis was Francis the Pope.
Was
And
it
he
Benedict
said-
or Francis?
Benedict.
Okay.
No, it was Francis.
Okay.
And he's telling them that we're all going to come back and that we need to go back home, and you all to come back home because you are just in the division of the Reform, but you're still a part of the Catholic Church. You still belong to us. And so now you're seeing them roll out this Ash Wednesday and Lent, and you're going to see it being done more and more and more and more. And you're going to roll it right back and say we are all brothers and we're all one, because it's never stopped being a cult. It has nothing to do with this book. What you've done is you've done deception. You've chosen some names and some people, and you pull their names and some significant things they did in a book, and you use them to deceive the people. The whole world has been deceived. You all believe this stuff. Then you have the media, and you have this country, which you call a great nation, and they promote it, and it's all over the world that this man, he was white, and he rose on the 25th of December. So when you get people who have not been raised in the cult, and you start showing them, and people who are called themselves atheists who believe in Darwinism or neo-Darwinism, then you get them saying, well, you had all these other mythological characters that were born on December 25th. So how can you believe this? And then we tell you to read the real book, and you don't want to read it. And so I can't trust Christianity. No, you can't. You really can't.
In other parts of the world, when they say Christianity, they mean Catholic Church. It's one of the first books I bought years ago because I wanted in the church that I go to learn about the book of the Revelation. It's called The Two Babylons. And they discredit a lot of things that Alexander Hislop said. But if you read in this book, The Two Babylons, you'll get a chance to see how the ancient world, how old authors felt about the Catholic Church and talked about what they did. But I'm telling you now, most people don't know that the Catholic Church enslaved us.
Yes.
They don't know that.
Wow.
That they are the ones that really did enslave us. That they really were a great part of colonizing people. Yeah. They don't realize when I own Fox's Book of Martyrs, I'm not talking about the one book, the volumes, when they used to make racks that cut women and pull their breasts off, when they would rip them and shred them, how they would take the people that would not go with them and put them in places with ants and all of that. You know what? That's unacceptable in my house. I had to stop. You know, I don't play that. No, it was a bug. I don't play that. I mean, because I know, but I kill bugs. You don't come in.
I see that you do.
You come in my house. I stop, put you to death. You don't even get away. But a lot of stuff I don't do because your situation. But I don't play that. Come in my house and do that. If you don't protect your home, somebody else will run it. But Alexander Hislop talked about that. And you know I'm not dispensational. But they did know what the Catholic Church was doing. That's why they got all those statues they can bow to. That's why they can do stuff with the boys, because they're Christian. It doesn't really matter. You told me to send you a scapular. I'm going to send you a scapular in a minute.
Okay.
But a scapular, and when I send it to her and she puts it up for you all to see it, it's like a little necklace. If you wear that scapular when you die, it don't matter if you were raping somebody, if you were killed, doing anything, you still get to go to heaven.
And so when somebody else get to be in charge of your book, and they take it,
mm-hmm.
and they appropriate it to themselves, and they say, what is the best way that I can use this book to my advantage? But yet, I really don't want the book. I don't like what's in it. It's disturbing. So we have our own doctrine. So let us have our own doctrine, but let's claim that it's as pure as this book. So we're going to take some people out of it, and we're going to attach to them some days, and you're going to feel good about it. And we're going to teach you that you don't have to do anything to be saved except say you believe. Just say you believe. Just say you believe. And so then you can commence to go to the life you had before, do whatever you was doing before, and just say, Jesus, forgive me. The Lord, even before you do, you're going to say, the Lord is going to have to forgive me for this. And so it's the same thing as buying an indulgence and saying it's fine, or going to the priest, because they say that they've reopened these confessionals, and people are so happy that they open these confessionals again, because people that they're being absolved of their sin. So they can come in and say, last night I committed adultery, and I stole some stuff from my job, and then this priest tells you, no, go with the Lord, and you're still blessed, and do these things, and you can do these things, and then you'll be free. And so it's like, whoo, I confess. And I feel so much better because I told somebody what I did, and this person forgave me and said I was still going to be good. All I have to do is say a few Hail Marys and some Our Fathers, and then I have to come in and, and burn a candle, and, pay some money, or, pay some kind of alms or something, and then I'm free. And these people are so happy that they have started to do this again. And so they never tell you to go and get it right, or just stop doing it. It's like, okay, you confess. And this is how the CIA sort of started.
It is.
Where you get to telling secrets, and you telling these things. This is the thing that the Scientology does to these people who go, and you tell them all of your secrets, and they record them. And then once you decide you don't want to leave, you want to leave, and you don't want to buy any of their books and their materials and their classes, and you want to be free from working for free and doing whatever they say, then they say, we have a dossier on you.
Yes.
And you cannot go out free. And you will stay here and do what we say, and you will promote us. And we'll follow you around, and we will ruin you.
That's what that girl said that used to be on the King of Queens.
And so we're in the branch. We have the branch of Christianity that came out and said, we just want to reform it. But you're still in the Catholic Church, because you still have many of the practices. You don't do what they call transubstantiation. You don't do that. But what they said was, we won't do that, but we'll do the wine and the wafer, or the grape juice and the cracker. We'll do that. And there's so many things that it's like it's still a division of the Catholic Church. And when you hear him speak, you can tell. And when he called all these evangelicals together, you can hear it. He's like, I'm over you. And when you see all of these nations come up and they have to talk to the Pope, something else is going on. Not just, on a spiritual level, but a political level. And it's probably all about money.
They are in international banking, and they have their own army.
So that's when you say it's like it's not biblical, and there's a difference between what the Hebrews were given and what Christianity is saying. And so when you say you got to get out of Christianity, you have to get back into this book.
Yes. And when I say getting out of Christianity, what is popular, what is not like God, you don't have to use that word. They were called the Way, but see, they even took that name, the Way International. They were called Christian as a pejorative. Mm. Peter say, if you suffer as a Christian. Well, at that time, look at what they were suffering for. Yeah. They weren't suffering for the mess we do now. And so, if you're going to ask me, am I a Christian, define your terms. If it means a follower of Christ and you're willing to give up your life and lose your friends for the truth, I've done that before. I've done that before. People are scared of me because a group of people told them that I'm pretty much the devil. But you know what? I offered every one of those people, you and your whole group versus me and my wife or me and my brother. Give us equal time. Because this book doesn't change. Now what I'm going to do, I sent you the scapulars.
Okay.
I want you to put those up. Then after you put those up, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down. I want your opinion. If I shut down this, the Facebook right now, and then open a new one, it won't seem like it's as long. It'll just be like how Patrick does back to back.
Okay.
All right. So before I do it, I'll make it known. But go ahead and show the scapulars, please.
Okay, but I don't see them.
I sent them to you through your Gmail, and I just have it as scapular. It should come up. But these scapulars are imagine you go to a church that all you got to do is wear this little trinket. Well, sometimes they have like the little beads. And I remember this woman was making them. I was doing some work for her. 5 of the beads. Did I send you the wrong email?
I don't see it. I don't have it.
Okay, come and take my thing that I sent from mine and then resend it to yourself. When I tell the story about this woman, she had made these beads on a string, and 4 of them I think would be white. Then the other one would be I think blue or whatever. It was 4 or 5 in that sequence. And I said, "What's that?" She said, "This is a rosary." I said, "What is that?" I didn't know. When you pray, you take the rosary and you say, "Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, our Father." Hail Mary. That's a prayer. She making prayers to sale. But isn't that the same thing that they do in what we call regular Christianity? I got a book. I got a book right over there. What is it called? A secret? It's called The Tongue, a Created Force. The Wonderful Name of Jesus. I got books, Kenneth Hagin, Kenneth Copeland. I got Jesse the Planners, and you know I don't like what he teach. He think like it's a joke. And I told God, you told God, yeah, you told God, but you ain't telling Yahweh. You ain't telling Yahweh Elohim El Shaddai. You're not telling him. You got your mouth open laughing. I don't care nothing about how much money you got in your plane. I care about the word of God. Heaven and earth will pass away, but his word will not. And you'll be just like that man.
How many you sent me?
2.
Okay.
I sent you 2. You found 1?
It was, no, I'm going back to the scent, and I'm going back to the scent box and trying to see. Did you?
Oh, you going into my email to do it?
I saw it's my email.
Okay, I sent it the scapular. Let me see.
Did you write brown scapular?
I just put scapular. That's the only one you should see.
The old one.
But the only thing that you should see coming into your email at this time, it should just be me, unless somebody, I was trying to sell you something, getting you to buy something all the time. Okay, then let me open this back up. Oh, I'm opening the wrong thing. I hate whenever I become like what is on the short bus. Here I am here. But you can actually Google it yourself. But I'm gonna go to my scent, and when I give you my scent, here's my scent. Now, did I send it to me? Wait a minute. No, I cannot believe that. No, I sent to you. Here, take my phone if you want to. Unless you want to type in brown scapular, you'll see them.
I have one.
Okay. And that way we don't have to keep moving, because I want to say something else they do. They used to sell indulgences. Let's say if you wanted to rape a little boy, you pay for the indulgence, you could rape him because you've already paid in advance. That's what Martin Luther was having a problem with. And this is where they get this statement that it's by grace alone. Okay, that's why they get that grace alone and faith alone, because Martin Luther was saying you don't get it that way. You don't get it by works, but he was talking about Catholic Church works. Yeah. And so now they go against James when James said, you see, a man is not saved by faith only. And so you end up having a different gospel. A gospel that's not the gospel of God. And so you got it up on the screen. When it show up, I'm gonna explain that scapular. There it is.
Faith only.
Okay, so what that? Let me tell you what that means. When I open it, I need to mute it. Now, when I open up my Facebook.
Okay.
Okay, now if you look in this scapular on the left-hand side, it says, "Whosoever dies wearing this scapular shall not suffer eternal fire." Our Lady's scapular promise. Then on the right side, you got this Charles Manson looking dude with some kind of fire over his heart, like got a pen in his hand. He's got the sun behind his head, representing the sun worship, like Constantine did. He got this robe on, and that's supposed to be Yeshua. Now tell me this. If you got this on you and that's all you got to do, don't you know that I would have mine sewed into my skin? And I could do anything. And not only do you wear that brown scapular that's supposed to do that, it has to be blessed by a priest. It has to be blessed by a priest. It has to, or the whichever unit of the Catholic Church does it. Here's the thing, they make fortunes off of that. So when somebody tell me Donald Trump is not a Christian, get out of my face, because y'all do everything. Everything in Christianity. Right out here in Stone Mountain where we live. Pastor did everything he wanted to do, and the church stood with him. I've been in churches where, guess what? If the bishop says something, guess what? It's law. Law. It didn't matter. You could send a man from his home and his great job that he has and say, "I want you to be over there. And that's where I want you to be," at his word. And you want to marry somebody? Not if we don't say, how you get that much power? Bible don't give you that kind of power.
You mentioned Asa the other day. I'm getting off.
It's okay. You're my wife. You can do that.
I'm getting off the subject, but didn't you go to Asa? What did you talk?
When Asa got disease in his feet, and he went to the divination, because King James called it physicians, but it's actually
you were talking about when he didn't go back to God and he paid somebody when Baasha came. I think it was Baasha.
Yeah, Baasha, he went and got some help.
And the prophet came to him and said, "Didn't I take care of those Ethiopians
yes.
and all those people, and they were in a greater number and all this?"
Mm-hmm.
So I was reading that, and I was like, I saw something in there, and I was like, this is exactly how I would describe us.
Well, tell
it's
him.
It's in 2 Chronicles 15, verse 3. It says, "Now for a long season, Israel hath been without the true God, and without a teaching priest, and without law."
That's us.
That's us.
That's us. The safest place should be in America for a black man is in his own neighborhood. It should be.
It should be, yeah.
You remember I taught the sermon about 2 or 3 weeks ago? You can't even get justice in your church anymore. That should be the second safest place. We have people that'll go up and break off from their wife and go marry and do stuff like this, and you in the church and you get to get away with it. But I really want to go back to I don't need to call back in. We can just let these two run and they just redo the Facebook, right?
Okay.
I'm asking because you know more better than I do. Okay, you are what I'm going to do. We want to talk more about the solutions, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to tell this live to stop, and I'm going to just immediately reboot it to come back on so that individual, if they just want to hear the solutions, they can hear the solutions. Let me see, where do I stop this thing, Andrina? You know, you shutting down Facebook? Mm-hmm. You're so pretty.